It is 10 a.m. Good morning from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. For the second time in their history, Spain are World Cup champions, defeating Argentina 1-0 in extra time Sunday in New Jersey. Ferran Torres with the game winner in the 106th minute. Argentina played extra time of the final down to 10 men after an Enzo Fernandez red card at the end of regulation. So Spain, world champs for the first time since 2010. Midfielder Rodri won the Golden Ball for the best player. France's Kylian Mbappe ultimately wins the Golden Boot over Lionel Messi as the tournament's top scorer with 10 goals. The Open Championship at Royal Birkdale came down to the wire on Sunday with Ryan Fox of New Zealand birdieing 18 to win his first career major in walk-off fashion. Fox finishing at 10 under, one stroke ahead of Cameron Young. The Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix was delayed and then postponed to today after Sunday's World Cup final went into extra time and then inclement weather came through the area. The race was shortened to 225 laps. It will green flag today at 2 p.m. out in Lebanon at the Super Speedway. And SEC Media Days are underway in Tampa. Commissioner Greg Sankey met with the media earlier. Brent Venables spoke a few minutes ago. Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz, Oklahoma coach Brent Venables, and Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel are the coaches today, as well as Kentucky coach Will Stein. Greg Sankey announced today also that SEC Media Days is returning to Nashville in 2027. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Good morning. Welcome in. Happy Monday. One step closer to football season, and you know that's the case when SEC Media Days gets fired up. 3HL down in Tampa. Greg Sankey has given his State of the League address. And we move forward to hear from every single coach in the Southeastern Conference over the course of the next few days, drawing closer to training camp. We have a world champion crowned as of yesterday. Much to discuss on this Monday, and we're glad to have you with us to do it on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, you can jump in on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. No Buck today. It's his birthday. He never broke out of the phase where he wants a birthday party. So he'll do that, I guess, by himself today and not be at work. So wish him a happy birthday if you want or don't. Bert and I are with you until 1 o'clock. Good morning, Bert.
We don't care.
We don't care. Yeah. What age did you stop caring about your birthday?
Probably after my 25th. I think after my 25th, like you turn 26 and it's kind of sad. It's like you're supposed to be like going into adulthood. Like I still celebrate my birthday. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't act like it's all about me. Like Cheyenne has this thing where she does the exact same thing where her birthday, it's all her. Probably the week. It's all her. She wants to go on a trip. She wants to go somewhere. That's what you want to do. You do it, baby. I feel a little bit differently about Buck because he made this weekend his birthday tour. He made this entire weekend the Buck Rising birthday bash.
Yeah, but that's not how anybody really saw it, right? Like at no point, we saw Buck multiple times this weekend. At no point were we celebrating his birthday.
Right, but I don't think it matters to him because he knew in his mind this weekend was his. So he decided that he was going to take the day. Reluctantly, we agree because, God, it's just so hard to do this with Buck not here. Oh, I'm just wishing that we had someone to fill all this space with gas.
Said nobody.
Yeah.
Ever. He's probably getting home today with a cupcake and a lone candle and quietly singing to himself. So like we said, wish him a happy birthday or don't. Doesn't matter to us. Plenty to discuss. Jamie Watson, Robert's favorite, joins us coming up next to recap the World Cup final.
You didn't tell me we were doing this. You said we have a soccer guest at 10:20, and
I knew how you would react.
I said, "Oh, is it good?" And you said, "Oh, the best." I don't like the way you talk about this person with me present. Like if you're going to cheat in my face, at least make it with somebody like it's called messing up. You got to mess up. You got to upgrade if you're going to cheat on me, dude.
We'll give you a chance to confront Jamie, and you can bring all of your grievances to him. Robert will be a scorned lover coming up in 15 minutes. Don Davenport I think, will join us coming up either at 10:45 or 11. Very fluid situation at SEC Media Days, as is always the case, and nobody does it better than 3HL. They are in Tampa all week, courtesy of Wholesale Supply, and Josh Heupel speaks today. A few things on the docket to ask Josh Heupel about after another dramatic, let's say, eventful offseason for Tennessee football. So we'll see what all comes out of talking season down in Tampa. And news from Greg Sankey that we will be hosting SEC Media Days again in 2027. Tennessee, or Nashville rather, hosted Media Days. I want to say it was 2023. It was 2023 because Joe Milton was part of Tennessee's player representatives making the rounds ahead of that season where he was the starter at quarterback. And Nashville crushed it, obviously. We did it, if I'm not mistaken, at the Omni over on Broadway, and it was set up perfectly for it. Every zone show was out there, and so I would hope that we'll run it back next summer. Looking forward to that, and SEC football dominating the conversation for an entire week. Obviously, soccer has dominated the conversation for the better part of the last 5 weeks, and now we essentially return to our regularly scheduled programming, but I can't wait to see what sort of momentum there still is for this sport in the U.S. and how that manifests itself, whether that's kids at a younger age being more willing to go play soccer, whether that's people maybe having more of an inclination to follow their local club team. I would add there is not a better city or market to be in right now if you are one of these people like Robert that says, okay, that was awesome. If you want to scratch that itch, here's the number one team in Major League Soccer looking to defend their place at the top of the standings again Wednesday after they beat Atlanta Friday in the return from the World Cup break. But yesterday, the 5 weeks of madness in the United States, Canada, and Mexico culminated, came to an end in the beautiful setting of MetLife Stadium, New York, New Jersey Stadium, as it is recognized by FIFA. And Robert, every wide shot, every drone shot, yes, they sprinkled in New York skyline scene sets for something that is miles and miles away, but I stand by before we talk about the actual game. MetLife Stadium, an atrocious place to host the World Cup final.
Every time they went around it, it's like, oh, enjoy this luxurious view of New York and this giant dump beside of it.
It looks so bad. It looks awful. But unfortunately, the game was not the most entertaining either. Like after the thrilling 5 weeks that we've had with electric moments and a nation and a world captured, inspiring stories, stars stepping into the spotlight, it is the most boringly dominant team on the planet that just constricts Argentina for 90 minutes plus an extra 30 of extra time and ultimately finds a game winner in the 106th minute with Ferran Torres, a breakthrough that felt inevitable, and Spain, deservedly, are world champions, just suffocating Argentina from start to finish. And that's how the tournament ends. And I understand that if a neutral fan is watching that game, let's say there's a neutral that just watched the U.S. games and said, all right, I'll watch the final too, was not the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but that happens in sports, right? Like there can be times where the best and most dominant team is the most boring team, and that's the case with Spain. The best comparison I had for it, Robert, you would probably have something better. Those early Nick Saban teams, 2011, 2012, right? Pre-Derrick Henry and pre-revolutionizing the offense with Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy and the litany of electric wide receivers and Tua and Jalen Hurts playing quarterback. But I'm talking about those A.J. McCarron Alabama teams that were not aesthetically pleasing to watch, but we're just going to grind you into dust slowly over 4 quarters. Is there anybody else that comes to mind when you think of just dominance and deserved champions playing the game almost to perfection, but in a way that is just dull for the neutral observer or even the most ardent football, basketball, soccer fan, whatever it might be?
Dang, that's a good question, man. I can't really think about who just being boring. Like, they're so good, it's boring. Like, maybe the Philadelphia Eagles during the tush-push era, like, it's not the flashiest way to win. The Super Bowl they won with, like, in the prime of Jason Kelsey and the tush-push.
Yeah, but that Super Bowl was
a banger.
Was awesome.
Right.
And in the Super Bowl they lost to the Chiefs was an even better game.
You'd probably have to go back to like the Ravens' first Super Bowl, where it was like
Dilfer.
But even the defense, like they turned Kerry Collins over like 5 times. Like if you're into defensive turnovers, like I'm thinking when you say that in football terms, I'm thinking about somebody that rushes for like 200 yards. They pass the ball 15 times and they just strangle the clock.
Bama
Bama.
2011, Bama 2012. Yep. I guess that is what we keep coming back to. That's what Spain 2026 are, and they did it without even hitting their top gear, Robert. Lamine Yamal, many could argue, is currently the best player in the world, and he was not 100% fit in this tournament. He came in with a hamstring, never felt like he was the best version of himself. He had 1 goal in the entire tournament. But in a tournament where Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi and Erling Haaland and Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham are just stealing the show, Lamine Yamal wasn't even close to his peak. Spain never felt like they hit top gear in this tournament, and yet they're lifting the trophy at the end of it, and Argentina never had a prayer. Now, there's disagreement in the chat. Bibbidi Bobbidi on the FNM Bang chat says he disagrees that he never has a bad time watching Messi and friends lose something that they wanted desperately. And Argentina were a sham in this game. It felt like there was a recognition that they were not going to break through. To not have a shot, let alone a shot on target, until the second half of extra time, Spain was just an anaconda, possessing the ball, pressing, had all the right triggers, pressing high, pressing in the middle of the field, pressing at the back, giving Argentina not even a glimpse of daylight, not even one look at Unai Simon in that Spanish goal, until the end where they had some moments there where you caught your breath and said, oh my God, here we go. They're going to do this again. They're going to force penalties. But the Enzo Fernandez red card in stoppage time, just clattering into a man that did about 20 flips, that's pretty, I don't know. It shines a light on what Argentina has been in this tournament, and finally it let them down.
Unfortunately, and I still enjoyed the final. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it because I endeared myself to the process, and I had great teachers like you and Will teaching me along the way. But I will say that final is what Americans feel like is the worst part of soccer. Boring game, not a lot of goals, a bunch of theatrics, people whining, people flopping, acting like they're hurt. The red card instance was one, but the other was when the dude did the 720 swanton bomb flip after getting like sneezed on. All of that is the worst part of soccer to me until I learned about the dark arts. And now I can appreciate the needling that goes on with the players. And you said, hey, watch Argentina. Any South American team is going to go after these refs in the smallest ways. It's almost like an NBA player, like rearing the ref up. It's like, I'm going to shake this guy up so he gets so tired of me complaining that he's going to call some fouls for me to shut me up. That's what I felt like Argentina was going to go for. But when they went down 10 men, you called it when we were there. They're just praying for shootouts.
Yeah.
They just wanted to get to the end so they had a chance, and Spain didn't let them get there.
Yes, and Argentina, who were the comeback kids, had all these last gasp moments, not against the Spanish side. Not going to happen, and Lionel Messi is stopped, and he is unable to get that repeat World Cup champion. But Argentina were just petulant in this game. Argentina showed you why they are often the most hated team in world soccer. The fighting after the game, right? To your point, the behavior, the simulation, the complaining, but for that game to go final and for certain Argentinian players to just start going at Spanish players and swiping at them and pushing them down, just messy. And not
well, he didn't. He wasn't
not,
fighting. I
not
didn't
that
see
messy.
him fight.
Oh man, just petulant stuff from Argentina.
I want more of that, but I just want it to happen in the game. But the rules in place, also the distinction of what is a yellow card and what is a red card. Like I understand the history of why you've told me they can't cover their mouths because of blatant racism that was going through the leagues. But to say that covering your mouth when you talk to somebody is a red card, but like in the act of football moves as a yellow card. Well, unless it's you're actually trying to step on someone, then that's a red card. It's like, how do we distinguish what the penalties are for these?
Every sport has gray area, but soccer is the most subjective when it comes to that. There's no official in sports with more power than a referee in soccer. None whatsoever. He has the 2 assistants on each touchline and the 4th official that's there to just keep the coaches at bay, right, and hold up the sign for the substitutions. And the assistant referees on the sides are essentially there for offsides and flagging any fouls that the ref maybe doesn't have a good look at. But the referee is the boss. It's not like football where you're in charge of this part of the field, you're in charge of this part. And, of course, there's an umpire and there's the Ed Hocules of the world that are in charge of relaying the calls and all these things, but nobody has more power than an official in soccer. And so they almost develop these personalities and these relationships with players that, lead to certain instances or kind of set the tone of games where some are more lenient than others. But this was one where Argentina just wanted to kick their way to a penalty shootout, and they were unable to do so.
I loved Messi trying to equalize and get
the cover mouth red card.
He was like, "Hey, teacher, sir, he's covering his mouth. He wasn't coughing. He was talking to me."
Cucurella put his hand up and touched the side of his face, and Messi, over here.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Hey, take one man away from them, please.
So, the only other thing I could relay it to, when you talk about what's the most boringly dominant thing in sports, like a 2011 Alabama or a 2026 Spain. When a pitcher throws a no-hitter, right, or a perfect game, where it's the peak of his profession and nothing happens. But because of how good that pitcher is on that day, that's kind of what we had with Spain. They're out here throwing perfect games. They did it as quietly as anybody, even though they were the odds-on favorite to win the World Cup coming in. It felt like none of us spoke about Spain until they beat France in the semifinal. And you said, oh, yeah, they're still here. And they're the favorites, and they're probably going to win this tournament, and they did.
They still only gave up one goal all of the World Cup, right?
Goal.
Is that the least amount of goals given up by a victor in World Cup history?
Man, off the top of my head, I can't confirm, but I would say it has to
There's
be.
never been someone that surrendered no goals through the entire World Cup, right?
I don't think so. No, that can't possibly be the case. No. I can confirm that for sure, but yeah, I don't see how that wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened. So, Spain dominate, and an incredibly fun 5 weeks comes to an end, man. I have to personally say thank you to you, Robert, and thank you to the people here, our listeners, the rest of the people, our colleagues on the zone that just hopped along for this ride. And, that's not to say that you guys did it for me. I understand you probably a little bit did it for me because you know how obsessed I am with this stuff. But it was genuinely one of the joys of my life to watch people that the moment this kicked off had no idea they would be into it and suddenly be completely emotionally invested in everything that happened and riding the wave of these last 5 weeks. And to share that passion with you guys and watch people reciprocate it legitimately has been one of the best experiences I have ever had in my personal or professional life. So thank you. I want to thank you because you're in front of me and you are a part of this group of people that did this. It was an absolute thrill to experience it with all of you, because it's better when you can share these experiences with people you know and people you don't know, and that's what we got to do.
I would have never gotten into it if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate you enabling me and allowing me to ask dumb questions and learn along the way. It was a lot of fun. And what happened today when we came in? I already saw the game for the World Cup. First thing I asked you about when I saw you at Hattie B's yesterday in East was what happened with Nashville SC. So I feel like you have made me more attuned to soccer locally, and I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun, buddy.
Oh, I love that. And we can talk more later on about the effect that this can have in Nashville, in this market, and nationwide. Moving on from this, but we will continue to recap what we saw over the course of the last 5 weeks where U.S. soccer goes from here as Robert's favorite, Jamie Watson, Westwood One soccer analyst, joins us next. A world champion has been crowned. 5 weeks of chaos coming to an end in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And Jamie Watson joins us to recap all of it. Many Nashville SC fans know Jamie from his time doing games for the club on MyTV 30. He's been on the FIFA World feed during this World Cup, calling matches, Apple TV, Westwood One Sports. Good morning, Jamie. I'm great. You know, it's bittersweet after the last few weeks to have to start the countdown for another 4 years. But I'm also a little bit concerned. I don't know how this segment is going to go because we have a situation. Robert, if you would like to just air your grievances now and we can just move forward as a show, I give you the floor.
I didn't want to do this out in front of everybody. I thought that maybe we could be a little professional up front. But one thing that I don't like is playing in my face. And I feel like you two have an unspoken relationship. After your last appearance on the show, no, Jamie, you're the best. No, Lucas, you're the best. No, I think we're both the best. Yes. Well, what about me, Jamie? What about me? I'm the one here mopping the house, making the dinner while you guys are philanthroping all over the best country in the world, talking about soccer. And what do I get? I get Lucas coming home. No, baby, I'm tired tonight. I just need the lights off. I just need to go to bed. It's not fair. It's not fair. So you guys either need to make this a menage a trois and bring me into this love triangle, or you need to leave Lucas the hell alone, Jamie.
Look, I am the Disneyland side piece for Lucas. You know what I mean? I just pop in, all the fun, all the excitement, because the novelty and the rarity of it. You get the day-to-day mundane. You get the Monday to Friday.
Yeah, left the toilet seat up, like all those conversations.
Exactly. And I just come in and say, you're great just the way that you are, Lucas. And he's like, you know what? Feels nice to be appreciated like this. And that's all that it is. But you're like, hey, Robert, of course, the more the merrier. Come on in. I'm just upset I didn't bump into you guys at Hattie B's yesterday. I was listening to the segment before. I didn't get that with you guys. So, you know what I mean? Like that's, yeah, I wasn't invited to that. So I'll air that grievance out at a separate time. But that's where it is.
You just hang out, Jamie. How about we just cut Lucas out of it?
I like that idea better. Now we're talking. Lucas, you've been replaced, actually.
All right.
I think you're great.
Head over to Hattie B's.
No, I think you're great, Jamie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here we go.
Great.
Wednesday night, Nashville SC Montreal. You guys can meet over there at the new Hattie B's on Gallatin. Great spot to watch a game and take in the boys in gold. So, with that aside, we move forward. Jamie, what did you make of the way that Spain went about their business throughout the course of this tournament? So dominatingly quiet, even though they were the favorites coming in. And in the end, it is the team that just slowly constricts their opponent lifting that trophy.
That's a great way to put it. Like, that is a spot-on assessment. Lucas, a second ago, I dumped you, but I'm back on the Lucas love train here because you're right. The way you just said that was perfect. Constricted and just sort of slowly, methodically took the life out of the opponents each and every game. And if you watched the game yesterday, I started the match wanting the romantic idea of Messi lifting another trophy. And if you watch those 90 minutes, which turned into 120 minutes, unfold, my desire to watch Argentina win by each passing minute went from, I kind of would be okay if maybe Spain won because they're slightly better right now, to the second half where I'm like, okay, it would be unjust if Spain didn't win this because of how dominant they've been and how poor Argentina has been. And then by extra time, I was just like, this would be a crime against humanity if Spain do not win this match. It changed over the course of 120 minutes because one team approached this match in the right way, and that was Spain. And one team approached this match in a way that will be questioned for years and decades to come. Argentina deserved no part of winning that match yesterday. And ultimately, the soccer gods agreed, and they made sure that Spain were the rightful winners of the final yesterday.
Yeah, it's well put. Jamie Watson with us on 104.5 The Zone. You almost have to kind of separate the tomfoolery and petulance of Argentina and what they showed in the most extreme way possible Sunday and the greatness of Lionel Messi, right? Because he dabbles in it occasionally the instance where he's campaigning for a red card to Mark Cucurella for touching the side of his mouth for the cover your mouth red new rule that has been implemented. But do you kind of have to, do you find yourself drawing that line and appreciating Lionel Messi and what we're witnessing and some of just the ridiculousness that Argentina showed yesterday?
Yeah, I think you have to separate yesterday's match, hopefully, from the legacy of Messi. I didn't love seeing that because I think Cucurella was actually explaining where he got hit or something like that, and he touches his mouth. And then the fact that the players, this is just off the back that, there was a red card. So now Argentina immediately goes to that mindset. And this is what Enzo Fernandez was doing. And Messi joined in, unfortunately. They were trying to find a way to get somebody from Spain sent off as well, too. So the numbers disadvantage even to back out. I didn't love seeing that in the way that he was trying to get it done. But the reality is, here's what I equate this to. If you're not a soccer fan, hopefully this analogy will make it a little bit more palatable of what we saw, the discrepancy of where Spain are at versus Argentina in that match. Spain are like Mike Tyson in his prime. You're not going to get into the ring with Mike Tyson and go into their game and his game and just say, I'm going to try to out-punch you. I'm going to try to throw harder punches than you. You're going to Floyd Mayweather this if you're stepping into the ring with prime Mike Tyson. You're going to throw a couple of jabs. You're going to tie up. You're going to try to frustrate. You're going to try to throw this giant who is unbeatable off of their game and just hope somehow, some way you can survive and get to a decision, which would have been penalty kicks and would have been, in essence, a lottery to try to win. It almost worked, but it just didn't happen. You could tell Argentina saw the dismantling in the semifinals that Spain did to France, who were, from my opinion, the most dominant attacking team that we've seen in the World Cup in quite some time. And Argentina knew they were lesser than France, and they knew that they were incapable of playing a game straight up against Spain. So they went to all the dark arts and tomfoolery that you alluded to, and it was almost enough. But fortunately for Spain, it just wasn't enough to be able to throw them off of their game, and Spain rightly won.
So Spain add the second star to their shirt. Now this Spanish team starts to put itself into a conversation of some of the best teams that we've seen coming off the Euro title, of course, this World Cup, and now pushing for another major trophy with the Euros that come up in 2 years. Argentina denied of the repeat title. To you now, with these 5 weeks suddenly in the rear view, what will be the lasting image of this World Cup in North America?
This is the right question to be asking today. And this will go down as maybe the most entertaining World Cup from start to finish. And yesterday's final was far from entertaining. You had to really, really love the game to appreciate where you were watching. And it's like a pitcher's duel in baseball. Very few people love a 1-0, 3-hit combined, pitcher's duel. That's what yesterday was, right? It wasn't spectacular, but everything else about it was incredible. But what I think will be the lasting impression of this tournament, and it'll take years and potentially decades for us to really see the full impact of this tournament. I truly believe the fact that this tournament was so in the face of Americans, that this will be the reason that so many people converted to being a fan of soccer, and the notion of it's cool to hate soccer, I think it ends after this World Cup, because it was impossible to ignore this tournament. It was so in your face. I had so many moments where people I didn't know, I saw them watching a game on their phone, just like I was watching a game on my phone, of two teams from different continents that really truly didn't matter to my day-to-day life, but yet it was able to make me have a conversation in my day-to-day life with somebody else. This will be the moment, I think, that soccer hopefully makes that turn in pop culture and in everyday culture, that no longer is it cool to be like, oh, soccer sucks. Come on, man, we're past it. It doesn't suck. You don't have to love it. You don't have to say it's your favorite sport, but you cannot have watched the last 39 days unfold in this country and not been like, okay, it is kind of cool. And for 90 minutes, you may not think it's the greatest sport in the world, and that's okay, but look what it did for the other 22 and a half hours of the day, in which it brought people together to be able to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And Lucas, you see this firsthand. That's what you'll get at a Nashville SC game. It's a smaller scale, sure. Nothing's as big as the World Cup, but you can go experience that same sort of community on a Saturday night at Geodis Park or at a watch party, wherever it might be. It's fun to be a part of, and I think ultimately this will be the thing that was so in your face, it will be impossible to ignore and could shift and ignite a next generation of soccer fans that hopefully take soccer in this country truly to the next level.
Yeah, and at the very least, Jamie Watson, Westwood One Sports, Apple TV soccer analyst with us on the Zone. At the very least, I think for legions of people, it will bump soccer into that casual observance category that it would not have been in before, whether that's going to a Nashville SC game or sitting down to watch a big Nashville SC game for a fight at the top of the Eastern Conference or an MLS Cup playoff match. And so that lasting sort of impact of this World Cup remains to be seen, but I think we're all looking forward to seeing what that looks like in the immediate future. Meanwhile, the U.S. men's national team and the way they captured this nation versus the way they were bounced and kind of laid down in that round of 16 matchup, I had so many conflicting feelings about it, Jamie, trying to figure out what my takeaway is for this program coming out of this World Cup, where we have not seen the entire nation jump on as emphatically as they did through those first few games. But we also have not seen the U.S. roll over in that sort of fashion, even in the last few World Cups, where the talent disparity has been even greater, right, in past generations. So where do you kind of land as you try to frame in your head where this program is and what this World Cup did for the U.S. men's national team?
You're such a great host, by the way, because your listeners that are driving around
Hear that, Robert?
Nashville right now, yeah, you. Here's the thing. I don't know if they fully understand just how good you are at analyzing soccer, calling soccer, understanding soccer, the landscape, both at a MLS level, but then also at a global level, because you've covered the U.S. men's national team. You have been the voice of it. You've been the soundtrack to it and the build up to this World Cup. You truly are in that upper echelon of soccer knowledge, Lucas. And I hope that when your listeners and viewers that are watching this, online and streaming this also as well, understand just how good your absorption is of soccer globally, but also here locally. And when you convey your thoughts, they really are true top tier analysis of it. I share a lot of the same sentiment that you do, that Mauricio Pochettino has helped grow this country in soccer and identity for the U.S. men's national team over the course of his 18 to 20 months. And have you been able to give your take? Do you want Pochettino to stick around? What's your thought on that?
I'm so conflicted because on one hand, yes, I like the culture that he rebuilt with this team and the style that they played at their best in this World Cup. I also I understand the precedent of U.S. men's national team managers past that have not had success with the second cycle. There's really not an example of a U.S. coach that has carried through another World Cup cycle and had that success continue or go upwards. So I'm to be honest, Jamie, I don't know how I feel about that yet. I feel like the dust has not settled enough for me to have a good idea on whether or not I want Pochettino back in charge of this team.
And see, that's why you're so good at giving a well-rounded opinion, because a lot of people are so on one side of the spectrum or the other. Yes, all in with Pochettino, give him every penny that he asked for. And others are saying, absolutely not. And you're asking the right questions based on history and where things are at, but having seen it firsthand and having been up close behind closed doors of the U.S. men's national team. So that's why I say what I say about, hopefully your listeners can appreciate that well-rounded and deep level understanding that you have, because this program is at a precipice and at a crossroads, really, of where do you take this momentum, but then also the expectations are going to be so much higher. We have not felt the depths of disappointment for the U.S. men's national team like we did after the loss to Belgium, but we have also not felt the highest highs of anticipation that we did feel after Paraguay. So over the course of a couple of weeks, that dichotomy of feeling on top of the world and feeling down in the depths is what we felt. And those wild swings of emotions means that people care and that fans demand more and expect more. So where does this program go? Man, this is going to be probably the biggest hire or reappointment of U.S. soccer's history for the men's side of it. And so I truly believe that U.S. soccer hopefully can meet that level of ambition that fans have for this program now on the men's side, the women's side have had it. You got to give them their fair due and their credit. They've won World Cups. They've won Olympics. They've set the standard for women's soccer internationally for a very long time. The men are aspiring to get there, and we're not there. We are not close right now to being in that top tier. But hopefully this World Cup and the next steps the U.S. soccer take on the men's side will help close that gap. So now next World Cup, we are really saying the round of 16 is the minimum, and the expectation is to get to that quarterfinal. That's the goal over the next 4 years. And if we can answer that today here on 104.5 The Zone, Lucas, we would get paid a lot of money by U.S. soccer to be able to give them that answer. I just don't know if we have that answer, and I'm excited to see who does and how that plays out.
Okay, Jamie, on the way out, you know this, I was a regular fan. I didn't have any invested interest into the game. But in watching yesterday and watching it go to the 2 15-minute period extra time, I had an idea. And Lucas was not willing to indulge me. So instead of 2 15-minute periods of the exact same thing that we've already seen for the full time of the match, I think that they should put both goals on these sliding plates that are underneath the field. And during that 30 minutes of extra time, every so often, I think it should be a slow creep of death. Lucas disagrees with me. But I think that those goals should slowly move in. Slowly decrease the amount of space on the field that's needed to play. It would remove the necessity to run miles and miles and miles after you've already done your cardio for the day. It would make the game so much smaller, less room for, I'm just going to kick it back to my goalie. No, there's no room. And eventually, it would just be the smallest space possible. And if you can survive those 2 15-minute periods, then they could go to the shootout. Everybody loves the shootout. I'm cool with that. But I think there needs to be an extra element added to these games. And Lucas was not willing to indulge my slow creep of death goal idea. Do you think that we can pull this off and potentially bring more American eyes onto the product?
Lucas has the you-know-what eating grin right now because he knows I'm about to absolutely throw this idea as far into the bottom of the trash can that I ever possibly thought I could do. You know what we should do? Actually, we'll take that idea. And you know the mascots that walk out, the kids that walk out with the players, actually, they have to come on and they have to finish the game with your sliding goals.
I love that.
How about that?
I love that.
Yeah, while we're at it, you know what? Why don't we actually just take the soccer ball? Why don't we throw 3 soccer balls on the field? First team to score. Actually, why don't we even just stop playing soccer at that point? Actually, if it's tied, we actually the sport ends. How about that? That's the next step to your idea.
Ties? You're gonna hate my next
back
idea.
To ties.
I think each team should be able to have one animal playing on the field with them at their
That's the next
native
iteration.
to their nation.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Has to be native to their nation. You have 4 years to train that animal. Like naturally, America, we would go get Air Bud, but you don't know. Like teams in Cape Verde may have like an anaconda. Somebody may have in South America may have like a tiny monkey. I don't know. It's up to the team's discretion to find out what animal is best suited for their style of play.
There we go. That's. I think we're on to something here. You know what? You were invited into the bromance earlier. I'm not sure how long you're going to be able to stay in the bromance with Lucas and I if you keep bringing $1 million ideas to the table like this one.
I'll do my best.
You know what I will say? You know what we should do? Instead of the all-star game that we saw for the third place game between England and France where defending was optional and it was 6-4, you know what you should do? It looked like the Harlem Globetrotters playing, by the way, against the Washington Generals. Like nobody cared. Nobody wanted to be there. Make the teams that make the final. How about this idea, Lucas? I think you'll appreciate it. This is a real soccer idea. The teams that make the final automatically qualify for the next World Cup, and the winner of the third, fourth place game gets qualified into the World Cup next World Cup cycle. You actually make that game, fun to actually have a purpose instead of it being a glorified match where we get 10 goals and it actually decides the Golden Boot title when it's all said and done.
The Golden
Boot. Not as good as the, sliding goals and native animal ideas, but, 1B to that idea, Robert.
Well, look, I will say, though, the lack of caring and lack of, stakes in the third place game did lead to that 10-goal absolute thriller. So I don't know.
It did make it exciting.
Yeah, I kind of loved it. But we'll workshop all these things for the next 4 years. Jamie
we got 4
Watson,
years, exactly.
That's right. Countdown starts now. At Jamie Watson77 is where you can follow him on Twitter. And I'm sure we'll circle back around, Jamie, talk some Nashville SC during this push for the MLS Cup. Appreciate you, man.
Can't wait, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Jamie Watson with us on 104.5 The Zone. See, that's all I want, Robert, is for you guys to say nice things about me the way Jamie does.
Yeah, he's the best.
Why can't I just get that from you guys?
Well, because I think it would make your big head just a tad bigger. But Jamie's right, man. And I think it's important for people to realize, like, when somebody like that puts you over, that would be like Todd McShay being like, Robert, you do such a good job breaking down the draft. You do such a good job talking about these prospects. That's a big deal. And I'm glad you're getting some flowers.
No, Jamie's the man. He's excellent at what he does as well. So, talking season is underway. SEC Media Days in Tampa. Greg Sankey stepped up to the podium. We'll tell you what the commissioner said next.
Nothing is worse than having to call someone to work on your AC or fix a plumbing problem, having no idea what it will cost. Well, you don't have to worry about that with Hiller Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. The price they quote you is the price you will actually pay. They're the most trustworthy plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical company I've ever dealt with. Their experts are truly that, experts. They're professional, experienced, and trustworthy. When they're on their way, you receive a photo of the tech that's been assigned to you and a link to track them in real time so you don't waste your time waiting around for your appointment. As Hiller says, 100% satisfaction guaranteed of happy you'll be, or the service is free. So you know that Happy Hiller gets its name honestly. This family-owned and operated business has been around for 35 years, so you know that they know a thing or two about plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical issues. So don't live in a heat. Call Happy Hiller and book online today at happyhiller.com.
Talking season underway, SEC Media Days in Tampa. Greg Sankey kicked it off as he does each and every week. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Great to watch the soccer game yesterday at the new Hattie B's on Gallatin. That was our first time hanging out there post-grand opening where we were doing the live show, and I'm going to be there a lot. I'm going to tell you, Bert, you're going to find me at the new Hattie B's on Gallatin, sitting at the bar, one of those couches, that table, that hangar event space behind the actual restaurant, where you can order food from there. They have a full drink selection, beer, liquor, TVs everywhere, pool table. Pool is free to play in the middle of the space. And there couldn't have been a better spot for us to kick back and watch the culmination of the last few weeks here in the U.S.
There's literally not a bad angle in the entire restaurant. Like, we went to a table and we were kind of underneath the TVs on the left side. I was like, oh, we're not going to be able to see that well. Nope. There's like 5 huge TVs in there. You can see the game wherever you are sitting. You could be in the rafters of the restaurant and have a perfect vantage point. So it was a great time. Food's great, drinks great. They didn't have their liquor license when we were there initially for the grand opening. Now they do. You can get everything from a pina colada, a tequila soda, a 40. It does not matter. They do not discriminate. Hattie B's is a great place to watch the games at.
And the best hot chicken in the world. Reminded of that every time we're there. Hattie B's app, be sure to download it. You can start to stack those rewards. So Parker asks on the F&M Bing chat, will we be getting another in-depth look at each SEC team? As we typically do each and every SEC Media Days. We will do one big thing on every team that is speaking on that respective day. So today, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Missouri at the podium. Brent Venables has already spoken. Josh Heupel will close us out, so he will speak. If I have it correctly, Heupel will get up there at 1:55 p.m. Central Time. So after the show, he'll be on during Cover 2 with Blaine and Zach. We will do one big thing on all of those teams, but Greg Sankey kicked it off.
Do the Sankey leg! Do the Sankey leg!
Oh, I love when you surprise me. See, this is why this is why it's great to have Jamie, like the bromance, whenever, we're doing some soccer stuff and kind of weaves in and out. And he just tells me how great he thinks I am and vice versa. But this is what keeps me coming back to you. Can we get it again?
Do the Sankey leg! Do the Sankey leg!
Did you just did that just now?
I made that in the first segment when you were yapping about something.
Man. Greg Sankey got up there and announced that SEC Media Days is coming to Nashville, which, if I'm not mistaken, you did work. You were here, but you were not there on location with us in 2023.
I did not get to go to it. I think I was working the board at that point.
Okay. So we'll see if Robert gets his first. Have you ever done ACC Media Days?
I have. Yeah, I've done ACC tip-off and ACC kickoff.
Gotcha. Greg Sankey got up there and spoke on the possibility of the SEC breaking off as its own super conference.
So you phrased the question of how real, so I'll take that as like real or not real. So they're real. People have talked about that. They've opined about the frustrations that bring them to the point of saying we should look at something significantly different. I do not believe that is a leverage point. I think that's just honest communication. I would prefer that stay in a meeting room or on a video conference and not be part of the D1 ticker the next morning, but I don't control all of that. And what I think is important is those comments represent a high level of frustration with the circumstance in which we find ourselves. We have regulated ourselves more aggressively than other colleagues by choice across our league. We've had different academic eligibility restrictions in the past. So we've had different transfer restrictions in the past. So some of what you hear comes out of a culture that we can regulate ourselves. But the frustration that exists is when you go to a meeting 8 years ago, we want to change the volunteer coach rule in a Division I setting, and the Division I membership can't see their way through change, and so that creates risk. I think some of the transition into this 5-year eligibility model, that it happened when it did and the way it did, that magnifies frustration. We went through a college football playoff discussion for years and introduced a 12-team playoff where it just sat because colleagues couldn't move. and they had reasons, but those reasons really didn't resonate. And so understand that beneath the observation.
Okay, so that's Greg Sankey speaking, and he goes on, basically said, yeah, it's real. The chatter about the possibility of the SEC breaking off and being its own thing is real, but he doesn't want it to be a leverage point. It's not a leverage point. He doesn't want to get to that point. But if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time Sankey has gotten up there and kind of acknowledged, like, yeah, that's a discussion that's happening based out of frustration for the current setup. And it sort of set the tone for media days, Robert, and my fear for what SEC media days has kind of become. And it's just going to be a week of coaches complaining.
Do the Sankey leg. Do the Sankey leg.
That's what that we need. Whenever we play a clip now of a coach complaining about the current state of college football and how hard it is to do what they're doing, and it's not that they don't have fair gripes, right? There's credibility to all the things they are saying, but there's times where it just gets pushed too far, and that's all we're hearing. We should play that audio of the Sankey leg. That's doing the Sankey leg, is talking about how unsustainable this all is for coaches.
Do the Sankey leg. Do the Sankey leg.
Because it gets into a territory where it's about how things are unfair for them in their role, right? And at some point they're talking about self-interest and self-preservation. We'll play the audio of Eli Drinkwitz talking about how tough the 9-game schedule is, right? Like the Big Ten hasn't been doing that, but because it's tougher for him because the SEC has bigger stadiums. And I'm over here SEC homer, but when the Big Ten is the one reaching the pinnacle of college football, it starts to get a little, I don't know, a little more and more like, come on, man, when you hear these complaints coming out about how hard it is to play in the SEC and why we shouldn't have a 9-game schedule because a 9-game schedule is harder than an 8-game schedule when the Big Ten's been doing the 9-game schedule.
I hate it for you.
So that'll be the Sankey leg whenever we hear that stuff coming out.
Do the Sankey leg. Do the Sankey leg.
Coach is complaining. That's what talking season's all about. So who are the main characters as we get underway in Tampa? We'll go over that. We'll take your phone call. 615-737-1045. Hour 2 is next. 11:03. Good morning from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. For the second time in their history, Spain are world champions, defeating Argentina 1-0 in extra time Sunday in New Jersey. Ferran Torres with the game winner in the 106th minute. Argentina played extra time of the final down to 10 men after Enzo Fernandez's red card towards the end of regulation. Kylian Mbappe ultimately wins the Golden Boot as the tournament's top scorer for his performance in the third-place game Saturday that brings him up to 10 goals, beating out Lionel Messi. The Open Championship at Royal Birkdale came down to the wire Sunday. Ryan Fox of New Zealand birdied 18, winning his first career major in walk-off fashion. Fox finished at 10 under, one stroke ahead of Cameron Young. The Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix was delayed and then postponed to today after Sunday's World Cup final went into extra time and then weather sweeping into the area. The race was shortened to 225 laps. It will green flag today coming up at 2 p.m. SEC Media Days are underway in Tampa. Commissioner Greg Sankey spoke earlier today. The coaches speaking today: Oklahoma head coach Brent Venables, Tennessee coach Josh Heupel, Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz, and Kentucky coach Will Stein. Sankey did announce this morning that SEC Media Days will return to Nashville in 2027, coming to Music City for the first time since 2023. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Hour 2, welcome back to the show. Talking season has been in full swing, but in the SEC, starting today in Tampa. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Be sure to download the Hattie B's app today and check out the new East Nashville location. We had a great time watching Argentina and Spain out there yesterday. A bunch of folks out there, but plenty of space to take advantage of in that hangar event space. So the main characters of the last few weeks have been Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe and so on and so on. The main characters of this week, as far as our conversation is concerned, makes for an interesting conversation in my mind because we have this discussion, rinse and repeat, every SEC Media Days. Where's the Steve Spurrier of this group of SEC head coaches? Mike Leach, rest in peace. Those types of orators at the podium, are those far and few between now? As Media Days becomes a lot of complaining about the current state of college athletics and really not a lot of information, we don't necessarily learn much at SEC Media Days. We understand this, but just to have SEC football at the top of conversation, to me, is why I enjoy the discourse, understanding that nothing of actual substance, for the most part, comes out of Media Days, other than Greg Sankey saying that it's coming to Nashville next summer. So we'll look forward to that.
We did get a note from Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know if you put this in your update or not.
Oh, I saw this.
That Ahmad Hardy, consensus All-American in 2025, is medically cleared from his gunshot wound he suffered this summer, but the timeline for his return to play for the Tigers is still uncertain. So kind of good
Great
news
yeah.
that he will be back. They just don't know when he will be back.
It was a crazy situation. Ahmad Hardy, if you missed it, was shot going to a concert earlier this summer, and his status was very uncertain for 2026. So great news from Eli Drinkwitz.
It was his leg, I believe,
yes.
Right? So, I mean, running back, that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Probably a different kind of rehabbing than a normal injury would encompass.
Can only imagine. So we will talk about the main characters of SEC Media Days this week. We will take your phone calls throughout the course of the show. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Philly Mike in Nashville's up first today. Hey, Mike.
All right. Good morning, guys. How you doing today?
Great.
All right. Hey, Lucas, I just want to give my congratulations to a job well done over the past 5 weeks in your coverage and your knowledge of soccer. And you are correct. My oldest daughter and I had a great time in Philly back on June 14th to see Ecuador versus the Ivory Coast. And the brothers from the Ivory Coast won that one 1-0 on the late goal. It was so weird to see a lot of yellow in the link versus Kelly Green, but we had a great time there, and your coverage was fantastic, man. So I just want to give my shout out to you and to the station for a great job, and I enjoy the show and keep it rolling. Take care, man.
Hey, thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate the kind words. Like I said in the opening segment, like I am appreciative of you guys and of Robert and of everybody that jumped on this train for the last 5 weeks in a way that I never even imagined, like better than I could have possibly hoped coming in. I kind of had this nervous energy. Is the U.S. going to take advantage? Are people really going to, truly embrace what this is all about? But for 5 weeks, Robert, I felt like every time you looked down at your phone on social media, that's always just a toxic cesspool. But for a few weeks, it was like every time you looked down at your phone, you saw cops dancing with people in the streets in Boston, right? Or Lamine Yamal's little brother running around, or
I love the video you sent.
Of him like trying to lick the World Cup trophy.
What is wrong with that kid?
He's got this screw loose. He's unhinged. I mean, just Japanese fans trying Texas barbecue for the first time. The celebrations in Paraguay and in Cabo Verde. For just a few weeks, it felt like every time you opened your phone, you were smiling down at it. And that's not something we get that often, right? Those moments feel far and few between. And to have that sort of concentrated into a month plus here on our doorstep and people enjoying this place that we call home in a time where there's so much toxicity and negativity about this place we call home around the world. Nah, man, that's the type of thing that's so unique, and it was so fun to see people embrace.
I appreciate them giving us those moments, but I bet right now they are in hangover debt hell, going back to their respective countries, looking at their credit card statements, realizing they quit their job, they sold their car, they don't have a place to live anymore. Thank you for giving everyone else those moments while now you can live in utter poverty and go back to eating packets of tuna and ramen like I did in college to get by.
I'll tell you what, yeah, the fallout, financial fallout for some of those folks that quit their jobs and mortgaged their homes to be able to gallivant around the U.S. for these incredible few weeks, I'm sure is real, but I bet you they do it again.
I could see that. There are times where you get back from a trip and you're like, man, I really spent more money than I wanted to on that trip.
That times a million for these Scottish fans. And I mean, who took over this country the most to you? Which fan base will you remember the most from this World Cup?
For Nashville specifically, I remember being at Fog Street and the Scottish fans
Everywhere.
taking it over,
Yeah.
wearing their kilts, wearing their
Singing.
What are their furry fanny packs called?
Oh, we looked this up. I can't remember.
I love those things.
You want one? Should I get you one? Is that a good birthday gift
Where
for
would
you?
Where would you get that at?
A tartan. That's why they're the tartan army, I guess.
Tartan. Okay, well, this is saying the tartan is just the patterned cloth.
Oh, yes.
Crisscrossing.
Okay, it's a sporan? A sporan? I don't know.
Either way.
I'll get you one.
Oh, yeah, imagine all the things I could put in those and not have to have in my pockets. I could have the SIGs in there, the Zens in there, my wallet in there, my keys in there, have the phone in the pocket, and you're really rocking.
I think Scottish fans probably left one of the most lasting impressions on folks, literally drinking the city of Boston dry.
But as a whole, I'm always going to remember the Korean and Mexican fans making out in the streets. That was so cool. Old men playing parrot tongues with people. Like, it was just
insanity.
It was. I was jealous.
What a time.
Very
A
jealous.
fever dream that we will never forget, World Cup 2026. So, ACC Truth or Robert Walsh? I am more interested in your perspective on this than my perspective on this. Who is the most interesting talker among SEC head coaches? We can keep it to head coaches, to you. Active SEC head coaches. Who are you most likely to flip on and say, all right, I'll listen to what this guy's saying?
Woof.
Is it Lane?
I guess it is Lane, man. I didn't want to say that. I was trying to find someone else that I really cared about, but it's Lane. Lane is the only one that's going to get up there and say something in a whiny tune. He's still going to do his whining, but he's going to get up there. He's going to sling some mud. I hope he craps on Ole Miss again. I hope he brings up the blatant racism and really ticks off everyone over there. Like, he's the only guy that's stirring the pot. Everyone else will kind of just be like, yeah, I really don't, like, kicking their feet like a bashful kid. I really wish that, we didn't have such a tough, like, conference schedule, so it would be a little easier for our school to make it to the playoffs. And Lane's like, I hate the way they dress. I hate the way they look. Lord, I hate his haircut. God, he's fat. Yeah, they tried to steal a recruit, so I paid him triple. That's what I want. I want people slinging muck. I want Ole Miss to be like, yeah, we stole that linebacker from Clemson. Yeah, what about it? What are they going to do? What's Dabo going to do? He's going to be fired next year anyway. Well, that's what I want.
But Lane does do it, to your point, in that sort of blasé, like almost drive-by fashion. Like, oh, oops, kind of say something as an aside, in his just deadpan, like, by the way.
Yeah, you guys want to talk about how much money LSU donors are having to pay for my vacation now? You should see what I had Ole Miss paying. Like, he's just deadpanning.
Exactly. So the thing is, though, Lane has been far from the loudest SEC head coach of the offseason. That's been Sark. Steve Sarkisian has been in the news for the words he has spoken more than any other SEC head coach this offseason, with the war of words against Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. And this is pre-Brendan Sorsby gambling fallout. Sark didn't have anything to say about that in the public eye, but taking pot shots at Texas Tech's schedule and saying he could go undefeated playing backups with that schedule. And Joey McGuire saying, okay, let's play then. Literally, Joey McGuire contacted Texas Tech's week one opponent and Texas's week one opponent and got them to agree to play each other instead so that Texas and Texas Tech could play. And then Steve Sarkisian with the basket weaving comments talking about Ole Miss's academics and all of these things. Now, the thing that I hate that's inevitably going to happen, certainly with Sark, maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, is when you have a whole offseason saying these things and being in the news for saying these things, and then you get to the podium at media days and you're all bashful about it, right? And you don't want to talk about it. And that's, well, we're not focused on that.
Because you might have to see these guys in the hallway.
Exactly. And I understand why that's the approach for so many coaches, but it constantly reminds me the most egregious example of this in the history of SEC media days. Now, this was pre-Robert Walsh era. We should have sort of a line separating kind of a BC and AD situation for before and after you were a zone employee. Before Robert, after Robert.
Yes.
This was maybe slightly before Robert when Jimbo Fisher
and Saban were going at
called an impromptu press conference to go at Saban.
It was my first month on the job.
Oh, so it was AR.
I believe it was like my first foray into this.
So, I don't need to rehash. Jimbo calls an impromptu presser in response to Nick Saban saying on a panel he was at or whatever in a theater in Birmingham or something that Texas A&M paid for their entire team or entire recruiting class, which they did. But Jimbo took offense to it, and he got up there, started talking about Nick Saban's skeletons and that he's not God and all of these things. And then SEC Media Days rolls around, and Jimbo gets up to the podium, and he's obviously asked about all of these insanely inflammatory things he said about his former boss, Nick Saban. Oh, and he didn't even want to touch it. And not only did he not want to touch it, Robert, but Jimbo Fisher had the audacity to say, when asked one of these questions, nothing remains private anymore. Like, you called the press conference. Nobody asked you to. It was not a regular media availability. You called up your SID and said, put me in front of a microphone, and then had the audacity at media days to say, nothing stays behind closed doors. Okay, Jimbo. So that's the most extreme version. But anytime this happens, coaches speak and then they want to be all bashful about it when the light is shining brightest. I'm not expecting Steve Sarkisian to follow up those comments in any sort of entertaining way. And it's not his obligation to. This is all for our entertainment. Not to mention Pete Golding and the tampering stuff. He was waving that stuff off at SEC spring meetings when asked about the tampering allegations being hurled at him from Dabo Swinney and Clemson. And Pete Golding basically saying, okay, do something, NCAA. What are you going to do? Come on, come at me. Look forward to that. And then there's Josh Heupel, who finds himself once again going into SEC Media Days, inevitably having to answer questions about the latest offseason development for Tennessee football. Last year, it was the Nico Iamaleava saga, first and foremost, and a little bit of the Boo Carter stuff. This year, it's the quarterback battle, but that's on the football side, the Cam Coleman stuff. Josh Heupel is going to get question after question about it. And he's not going to say anything of note, is my guess, because that's kind of how Heupel operates. Now, I will say, for all of you guys. Where Josh Heupel tends to be his most open at SEC Media Days is when he sits down with Brent, Slay, and Don with 3HO. I've never heard a more laid-back version of Josh Heupel. I'm not listening to every second of every interview he does, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a more open and laid-back version of Heupel than when he sits down with 3HL. We'll see. I'm assuming that happens today. Their time at SEC Media Days this week, brought to you by Wholesale Supply. So check that out coming up at 3 p.m.
And you can hear that, too, when they do Big Orange Caravan, and he's over there, and he's having a great time with them. So that's what I always look forward to, is when they get to talk to the people that they have made the relationships with. When Slay gets to put him in the Boom Boom Room, or they talk to Danny White, that's the best part of SEC Media Days for me.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Bob is on 840, and he's up next. Hey, Bob.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, man.
I got one quick question. Hello?
Go on.
Hello?
No, don't do that,
Okay,
Robert. We hear you, Bob. What's your question?
I just want to know what kind of medication Bert is on, because I want to buy some.
This is all natural, baby. High on life and an energy drink and like 3 cigarettes.
Thanks for the call, Bob. and
a coffee. And
then?
when's the last time you watched?
That's if you know, you know. Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah, when's the last time you watched that?
In its entirety, probably 2011.
What's mine say? Dude, what's mine say? Sweet.
Was that what it was?
I think it was sweet.
Or what? I thought it was what? No.
Really?
Sweet? No, you're right. It's sweet.
Yeah. Ashton Kutcher at his finest.
Classic.
Where would he rank on your Mount Rushmore of actors like we did last week?
I don't know. Where does Christopher Nolan rank on your Mount Rushmore of directors after what we're about to see tonight?
I cannot wait. You guys told me to watch Troy. I didn't watch Troy. Or no, my other friends told me to watch Troy to get the full scope going into it. I've played Age of Mythology.
I watched Troy on Saturday.
I understand the methodology of doing that, but I kind of wanted to go in with an unprecedented mind. I didn't want to come in this with expectations. I just want to sit my fat ass down in a theater chair and watch the movie. I have been hiding myself from clips and pieces, and this is how they made the Cyclops. This is how they use these effects. I don't care.
Blinders are up.
The movie hasn't even been out a week yet. Let me watch the movie. Also, I did not understand how big of a deal it was to get 70mm tickets. Like a week after they had been on sale. My buddy was like, how the hell did you get a nighttime ticket to a 70mm ticket?
Is Christopher Nolan the best director of our generation? Next.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
something that always brings people together is a massive event, right? We've spent 5 weeks talking about it for the World Cup. You may not have been a soccer fan, and I'm sure you were captured by the star performances and seeing fans descend upon cities, but you're also captured by it because this is a thing that everybody is talking about, right, and pointing at. So I love when that happens with certain movies because they're far and few between that the release of a movie can become this widespread of an event that literally everybody is speaking about. And I don't know that any director is putting those out with more frequency than Christopher Nolan. Certainly in our generation, Robert. Christopher Nolan films in the last couple of decades, let's say, keep it to the 21st century, whether it's The Odyssey or Oppenheimer or any one of the Dark Knight trilogy, which the buzz for those just increased and skyrocketed with the release of every single one. Inception. Every Christopher Nolan movie feels like an event, something that everybody is talking about. And The Odyssey feels like it's taking that to a whole new level with some of the history that Nolan is making and how they made this film.
I could not get up for Tenet.
Me too. I never saw Tenet.
I'm going to be honest. It's one of those movies that are like, I feel like you're going to make me think too. I saw Inception, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sign up for this
again.
You
know what you're doing, pal. Yeah. I think I'm with you. I never saw Memento either, which is.
Oh, dude.
I know. That's when I'm going to watch Memento. I'm going to get to Memento.
It's probably my second favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It is so, as far as thriller goes, if you're like, I'm a fan of thrillers, and you've never seen Memento, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
You said in the last segment that you're having to put the blinders up. I'm the same way because one of the awful things about social media, of which there are many, the way that whenever something like this comes along and your algorithm knows that you're into it and you're going to see it at some point, and then it does its absolute best to make sure that as much of it is ruined for you as possible. I mean, videos of people in movie theaters, like putting out clips, critical scenes from the film.
It's ridiculous.
Insane.
Or AI versions of it, where like the lights are still on. Like the famous image that's going around right now is the difference between going to see it in 70 millimeter and going to see standard.
And there's a huge difference.
Well, there is a huge difference, but the thing that no one is pointing out is the lights are on. They're not going to show this movie with the lights on. So someone took a picture of the screen and did the AI thing with it. So that's not exactly what it's going to look like. Anyway, I'm nitpicking, but
but that's what it is. Like and I didn't see the Michael Jackson movie that came out where his nephew plays him. But for whatever reason, my algorithm was all over me on this movie. And I got nothing but Michael content. And I kept clicking on it because I was interested in how he portrayed his uncle. Robert, I have seen that entire movie by doom scrolling on Instagram.
In 30-second clips.
I have no desire to see that film because I feel like I've seen 90% of it. So I will refuse to let that happen with The Odyssey. That will be maybe the cinematic experience of our lifetimes. Like Nolan just keeps one-upping himself. And so it does beg the question, is Christopher Nolan the most accomplished director of our lifetimes? Is Christopher Nolan pulling us in with every project, one after the other? I mentioned Oppenheimer, Dunkirk. What other director has pulled us in to go to the movie theater at the rate Nolan has in the 21st century?
Quentin Tarantino.
I mean, it's them side by side, right? And Tarantino does it more sparingly.
I feel like we need to put the guardrails up really quickly, though, because I feel like people are going to hit us with Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Scorsese, and I feel like those are the pre-two. I mean, Scorsese, George Lucas, they were still making movies, but I don't look at them as like this generation's directors.
I agree.
So I excluded them from that.
Agreed.
Because I would put Scorsese up against him, obviously. Like, if you watch films or you're a film buff, you're going to include him.
Yeah, but like he's been on the maps. I mean, Taxi Driver came out in the mid-'70s, right? Like for Tarantino, it's, like mid-'90s is where like Reservoir Dogs puts him on the map.
That was the first big one, and that's 92, I believe. Okay.
And then Christopher Nolan. I mean, what's the first movie that truly put Christopher Nolan in another category? The Batman? Was it the Batman movies?
You know what? I think you're right. I think it's The Dark Knight, because The Prestige, though. The Prestige is probably my favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
Nobody talks about The Prestige.
It's so stinking good.
It's incredible.
But it was not the critically acclaimed hit that The Dark Knight was that brought everyone to Christopher Nolan. So while I would say he has been doing it for a long time, I don't think he got the credit he deserved until he had a mainstream movie breakthrough like The Dark Knight. And then after that, after The Dark Knight, it was bang, 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 bang. Dude could not put out a bad movie if he tried until Tenet. But I don't know. I've never seen Tenet. I'm not going to expand my brain that much. But a guy that I didn't think of, and I looked up the list of what IMDb believes to be the top 30 directors of this generation. And a guy that did not immediately come to my mind, and I was upset that he did not, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Dude, he recently, back in the movie foray with One Battle After Another, I'm pretty sure it cleaned up with awards.
It did.
But if you're talking about There Will Be Blood, you're talking about Boogie Nights, you're talking about Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
Like, the dude puts out bangers that feel like his same thing. I mean, every director has their own certain tone or hue over their movies. Like, it's really obvious with Quentin Tarantino because there are nonstop cuss words and feet in every movie. Like, what is a Christopher Nolan calling card for you?
It's just that. It's that theatrical experience to me, right? That only something like The Dark Knight or Oppenheimer, seemingly The Odyssey, truly has. Like, Nolan, I think, is the guy that you can't truly appreciate him unless you've seen these films in the movie theater. And in the case of The Odyssey, in 70-millimeter IMAX film. So I'm not breaking any news to anybody, right? That this is the first movie ever shot entirely in 70-millimeter IMAX. And how fortunate we are to have one of those right over there in Opry Mills. There's about 24 in the country. And there are people driving long distances to come see this movie in the format in which it was shot. And I kind of love the audacity of Christopher Nolan to make a movie that he knows only a very small percentage of his audience will actually see in the format that it is designed to be seen. But he's moving on and doing it anyway. And I can't wait. We're going to see it tonight. Robert, Buck, myself, a few others. I cannot wait. Now, I do have another question, though, for people. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We will get back to football. We've got Cam Ward comments on Brian Dable that I think will be interesting to folks that we'll hear coming up next. More SEC Media Days talk. But my question is, Robert, what is the spoiler etiquette for a movie based on a 3,000-year-old story? Like, are we allowed to come in here tomorrow and talk about certain aspects of the story that do include spoilers of the Odyssey and how it ends, but it's the story that's been around since like a 1,000 years before the Bible was written? So what's the etiquette on that?
Here's how I would look at it. I would look at it like we were talking about a sports game for the most part. Like, or not football, let's say pro wrestling. If you didn't get to watch WrestleMania, you're going to know who wins and who loses. If you don't know the story of the Odyssey, you can look up a really quick summary of it to know that the fall of the hero, the rise, all that kind of stuff.
But I do want us to be careful because I know if it was me and I hadn't seen it yet,
right? Exactly.
And I'm listening to the show,
that's why
I'd be like, hey, hands over my ears.
That's why I think moments should not be talked about. Like, obviously, we haven't seen it yet. I just know of this. We've seen pieces of it. But, like, the Cyclops moment, when he sees Athena, when he gets to the island, like, there are specific moments in this movie that will be original to this film. Like, he'll take liberties with the story and do it in his own way, I'm assuming. I don't think we can go into the intricacies of the movie. Right. I think we could give a flat... I mean, if you're writing a synopsis of something, I think you can do that without giving away all of the tricks of the trade.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Joe in Bowling Green's up next. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, you guys are talking about the Cliff Note version, I guess, of the Odyssey. I totally agree with Christopher Nolan. He's amazing, and his intellectual capacity and what he brings is amazing. But you left out James Cameron, who drives people to the theaters. He drove people to the theaters with Titanic and Avatar and, those kind of things. Not saying he's one of the greatest directors, but he definitely gets people in the seats as far as that goes. Have you guys seen the Korean-directed Parasite that won Best Picture?
Phenomenal, yeah.
So good.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's got a murder story that he released earlier, and I watched that the other night. It was on one of the channels. And I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's equally good. He's just so unusual as well. I like the offbeat directors myself. But anyway, I enjoyed the conversation, guys. Thanks for taking the call.
Thanks for the call, Joe.
If you haven't seen Parasite and maybe like the non-English speaking is difficult for you, that's one of the first movies. Like, I'm not into anime. I'm not into any of the subtitle stuff. But if you can stomach watching it with subtitles, it is so good.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It is such a good movie. I'm trying to find the movie he's talking about because I think it's John Hu or Bong Hu, the director.
Of The Parasite?
Yes. And he won a ton of awards for that. Let's see what background.
Bong Joon-ho. Yeah, that's the director.
He also did Mickey 17, which was the Robert Pattinson movie. Was it good? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was fine.
He's like clones of himself,
super like
essentially.
quirky sci-fi movie.
I guess the new movie that he's discussing is, it must have been an old one. But the same guy, Snowpiercer, Okja, all those kind of things.
I think the rules should be that we get to say, if we can come in and say that was awesome, everybody should go see it if that's how we feel. But I don't think we should be able to be going into detail about.
I agree.
Right. Like, we need to limit ourselves tomorrow when we come in here after the three of us, fresh off of seeing The Odyssey in 70mm IMAX.
For TV shows, my rule is 3 days. If you really care about a show and you really didn't want to have it spoiled, you can find time in 3 days. For movies, I think it's 3 weeks.
Definitely, yes. At least 3 weeks.
And so after 3 weeks, then you can talk about the intricacies of the film.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, do you, just to wrap up the conversation, do you have a favorite Christopher Nolan movie that you just hold above the rest?
Probably The Prestige. It's just so good for me.
It's so good.
I told you last night I fell asleep watching it. I could watch that movie just about, but I would still put, and this is me personally, because IMDb does not agree with me.
And The Prestige was like early days Chris Nolan, 2006. I mean, that may have been right. That's about the same time that Batman Begins came out.
The Prestige, 2006. You are correct. My number one, and this is like the cringy way to do it, but it's still Quentin Tarantino. I love those movies. Like, even the movies that I don't really like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is not one of my favorite movies that he's done, but I can admit that it's really, really good.
I love that movie.
I love Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown, to me, might be the perfect movie.
I feel like Jackie Brown is Christopher Nolan's Prestige. It's like Jackie Brown is to Tarantino as the Prestige is to Nolan.
Like, it gets wiped over.
It gets wiped over.
I could see that.
It doesn't get talked about like The Dark Knight and Oppenheimer and now The Odyssey, whereas Tarantino, it's all about Pulp Fiction and Inglourious Bastards and all these movies. And because Jackie Brown kind of is, I don't know, it goes about things in a different way than you're used to with Tarantino. But I'm with you, man. It's right up there. It's one of the best movies he's ever done. Have you ever seen Death Proof?
Oh, I was literally about to bring it up, where I think Amazon used to have this. It was a Blu-ray package, and it was everything that Quentin Tarantino directed in one box. And that's the first time my foray into Death Proof. I loved it.
We can't wait to watch The Odyssey. We'll report back in as respectful a manner as possible, because I know if I was in y'all's shoes, the last thing I want is for us to be sitting here blabbing on about things that you're hoping to find out for yourself when you go and watch it, hopefully in 70mm IMAX. We are fortunate, man, to have that right here in Nashville.
All of my friends are so jealous. Like, in North Carolina, the closest you can get, you have to go to like Burbank, Georgia, or Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And we have 2 in Tennessee. There are only 25 in the country.
There's one in Chat?
Yes, at the Science Center there.
Yeah, wow.
They're having showings of The Odyssey.
Chattanooga, home of the World Cup champions in 70mm IMAX. Never forget that Spain stayed in Chattanooga throughout the course of this World Cup on their way to a title. People are driving like 7, 8, 9 hours for this thing, man.
That's crazy.
We get to drive 15 minutes, so not
Doesn't
bad.
get much better than that.
Cam Ward was on a podcast with some interesting things to say about Brian Dable. We'll play that audio for you next.
The guaranteed offer is the simplest, least stressful way to sell your home. You go to our website, you fill out a quick form, we set an appointment, we bring you an all-cash offer. Literally, there's no lockbox on the front of your house, there's no showings, we pay all cash, we close in as little as 21 days, stress-free. We've helped thousands of homeowners just like you sell your home the hassle-free way with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate.
In less than 2 weeks, the Titans report to training camp. Here we are, man. Open practices beginning on August 1st, many of which, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I've seen, are sold out. You can go to TennesseeTitans.com if you want to look to claim a ticket. I think the Friday scrimmage at Nissan Stadium is pretty much the only one with availability. Friday, August 7th, they will be doing an open practice over at Nissan Stadium. But it's about that time, and Cam Ward gets to go through his first training camp with Robert Saleh as his head coach and Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator after an offseason program of implementing the scheme, of getting to know his coaches, doing it with no pads on. And that is the nature of the offseason program. But Cam Ward certainly knows Brian Daboll better today than he did the day he was hired as the Titans offensive coordinator. And as we all watch the quarterback series on Netflix and we get to see Cam Ward interacting with Brian Callahan and some of the ins and outs of their dialogue, and certainly it's easy to, cherry pick those moments for a team that went 3-14 in back-to-back years and wonder what the hell Brian Callahan is doing in this instance or that instance. But there has been, I think Buck kind of described it as an adults are in the room vibe at the Titans facility. So here's Cam Ward on a podcast with James Harrison and Joe Hayden. The name of the podcast is Debo and Joe, talking about Brian Daboll, what he's already learned from his new offensive coordinator.
And I think just having us bringing in Daboll in this 5-6 months that I've been with him, he's taught me so much, that I wish I knew last year.
What has he taught you about basically, is it more schemes or is it more defense that he's been able to kind of teach you?
He's everything. I think the best thing about him that he's allows the quarterback to have his input on the offense, whether that's week to week or the whole playbook. And the first thing that, I had a great relationship with him during the pre-draft process last year when I was coming out. But the first thing, as soon as we hired him, it was, what do you want to run? Everything I wanted to do, he didn't talk about what he did with Josh, with Jackson last year, with other quarterbacks he has. It was, what did I want to do?
I love that.
And so he listened to the quarterback. He sees it from my perspective when the bullets are actually flying and where my mind goes to during the play and how I get through the read versus coverage. He's really helped me be more of a situational football player. And I think that's going to help me down the road because, I don't have to think big play on first and second down. Really, I just got to be prepared for one down. That's third down. I think, and to me, that's how he explained. That's where quarterback gets played on third down. Whether it's third and short, medium, or long, you got to come with it, and then you got to be good in 2-minute drill and red zone. And if you do those three things right as a quarterback, you end up being one of the best in the league.
So that's Cam Ward talking about his new offensive coordinator in Brian Daboll, talking about the importance of third down, something the Titans were second to last in last year in the NFL, converting at less than 32%, better than only Minnesota and barely last season. So interesting right on the front end, Robert, to hear him talking about the best thing about Brian Daboll is allowing a quarterback to have input on the offense. And I remember that being kind of the thing that was glorified about Brian Callahan when he came in. After the Mike Vrabel alpha, it's his way or the highway sort of vibe, Brian Callahan came in, and it's a two-way street. It's a conversation, right? That's how a coach in the modern age has to be. Gone are the days of the authoritarian head coach with this new generation of football players. And then you watch that documentary on Netflix, and you see that Brian Daboll is letting Cam choose his own play in his first career NFL game against the best defense in the league in Denver.
Callahan.
Yeah. What'd I say?
Daboll.
My fault. Brian Callahan.
It happens.
Callahan said, what do you want to do here, bud? Whoa, hold on. This is his first game. He's literally never played 4 quarters
it's like your
of an NFL game in his life.
You're 4 years old. It's like, what's for dinner? Jelly beans.
Yeah, exactly. What happens? He takes a sack, right? I mean, they want to go. They want to push it down the field while Titans fans are screaming, no, run the ball, kick the field goal. So there are limits to that, right? And Brian Callahan, that was his first time as the primary play caller. So I'm sure he learned a lot, and we'll see, what happens in New York. He's now the QB coach of the Giants. There is rightfully a little more confidence that Brian Daboll comes in with a higher pedigree of knowing when to layer that type of input into your scheme as opposed to, all right, Cam, what do you want to do here? 5 minutes into his NFL debut.
I don't know, whatever you want to do, boss. Like, how about you tell me? Weren't you just...
We did not talk about that. And I have only seen the first 2 episodes. Have you watched any of the quarterback new season?
I haven't.
Does that not grab you at all? Because I feel like I'm surprised that you don't run to watch that type of stuff.
And it really doesn't, because it's so... I don't know. It's like what they want us to see. Like, I got so knocked off on... I used to be really big into Hard Knocks. Like, when the Texans had the preseason Hard Knocks, I was all in on that. Like, I like seeing how the undrafted people, like, interact with the coaches and how they choose their roster and stuff. But it feels like they got so far away from that. The end season last year with the AFC North, the Ravens were in it. I was so excited to watch it. And you really don't learn anything. It gives you a better understanding for certain moments, but it didn't really teach me something that I didn't know about how John Harbaugh ran the team, or the leader that Lamar is, or what the Bengals were doing while Joe Burrow was coming back from injury, or any of that. I didn't really learn anything that I didn't know from the outside looking in. It was just thrown on a big screen for you to watch.
Yeah.
So I don't dislike it. I don't dislike that other people are getting things out of it. I'm glad that people are enjoying it.
No, I'm with you, though.
But it's... I got other stuff to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things. Like, I'd rather watch The Prestige for the 60th time.
No, I'm with you. That those there was a switch that happened somewhere along the way where I'm the same. I was right there front and center for every Hard Knocks. And then at some point, those started to all kind of run together. All those like behind the scenes stuff, and the quarterback series, the same deal. And I just it doesn't grab me. I've watched the first 2 episodes of Quarterback, and I found myself wanting to kind of fast forward through all the Jaden Daniels parts and just get to the Cam stuff. I will say Cam is a very entertaining person to listen to, almost because he's such a dry and boring human. And I mean that in the best possible way, right? That the dude just wants to fish and play football. But like Robert, I think you will get a kick out of watching Cam Ward talk about there's in the second episode where he goes to, I can't remember which local school it is in Nashville, right? Community stuff. He's playing dodgeball with kids.
Oh, I've seen the clip. He wants to pelt these kids. And I really want to peg them.
He says, as much as I wanted to peg the bleep out of them, I couldn't do that. And I can't tell if he's trying to be funny or not, but his dry sort of deadpan just way of being Cam Ward is so hilariously entertaining to me. And he's not trying. He's not like doing a thing, which maybe is why it's funny. But Cam somehow is the most interesting out of all of those guys. So
it's kind of like a Mike Tyson-esque quality. Like Mike Tyson, we don't know if he's just crazy or if he really feels the way he, like sometimes he can like slip into like soft soliloquy and just be like, yeah, I try to fight off that man inside of me. And it's like, I don't know, you're not trying to be funny, but you are unintentionally one of the funniest people on the planet.
So we get a glimpse into Cam Ward and his relationship with Brian Daboll there, but as he talks about Daboll allowing that input, Brian Callahan did the same thing, but yet we have a lot more confidence that Brian Daboll is going to manage things better than Callahan, right? And we should. Like, we're allowed to take Brian Daboll's resume and apply it as opposed to Brian Callahan, who didn't have really any of a play-calling resume, certainly play-calling head coach resume, which Daboll has coming into his tenure. So the way I see Cam this year, Bert, is just like we're obviously the goal is to win as many games as possible, but maybe even the 1A to that 1B is to know more about Cam Ward at the end of the season. Yes?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this Titans season like a big cul-de-sac yard sale. Like, I've seen the signs. I know it's coming up. I'm going to be there, but I don't know if I'm going to find a $500 baseball glove to resell on eBay, or if it's going to be a bunch of Christmas ornaments.
I feel like we're trying to peer through a window to see what's on the other side, but the window is just full of smudges, and you're just trying to like clean it and wipe them away, and every smudge is a Cam Ward excuse, right? And like valid excuses. Last year, offensive line play, a horrible head coach and play caller situation, brutal schedule for a last-place team going up against the best defenses in the league week in and week out. All valid excuses, but still things that make it hard to evaluate Cam Ward. So I feel like we're trying to look through this window, and on the other side is a clearer picture of what Cam Ward is. And this offseason, the Titans are starting to wipe away those smudges. Like, okay, accomplished play caller, wipe that excuse away. More help at the wide receiver position. Draft Carnell Tate. Sign Wan'Dale Robinson. Wipe that excuse away. And there are still like smudges on the glass, like the offensive line and the questions there, and plenty of things that we can sit here and roll through and we talk about reasons why we may still have trouble truly understanding Cam himself, to not be the best version of himself in year 2. There's no expectation that that's what it is. But at the very least, we should have a clearer picture of what Cam is. Yes? Like that should be something we expect to have at the end of 2026, assuming health.
I would like to find some Pokemon cards at this yard sale. I would like to find something that makes it worth us going all the way down the neighborhood to pilfer through somebody's old drawers.
That's all we're looking for. Just Pokemon cards in the Titans season. The halftime show of the World Cup final prompted some discussion yesterday. We'll talk about that coming up next. 12:02, good afternoon from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. For the second time in their history, Spain are World Cup champions, beating Argentina 1-0 in extra time Sunday in New Jersey. Ferran Torres with the game winner in the 106th minute. Argentina playing down to 10 men throughout extra time thanks to a red card for Enzo Fernandez at the end of regulation. And the World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico comes to an end. SEC Media Days are underway in Tampa. Commissioner Greg Sankey met with the media earlier today. The coaches speaking today, some who already have spoken: Oklahoma's Brent Venables, Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz, Kentucky's Will Stein, and Tennessee's Josh Heupel will close it out. Sankey did announce today that SEC Media Days are returning to Nashville in 2027. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. A world champion has been crowned. Talking season underway in the Footprint down in Tampa. Training camp less than 2 weeks away. Much to discuss on this Monday. Hope you're doing well. Lucas and Bert with you until 1 o'clock. We are on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. We are fueled, of course, by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, where we were live and in person watching a halftime show that was a halftime show yesterday. It was that.
It was halftime
at New York and New Jersey Stadium. There were things happening, and I didn't know what to make of it, Robert. It was like the definition of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And you made a great comparison before you and I were watching like the pregame stuff where Post Malone and Sway Lee are performing in the pregame. And what did you say about the way FIFA is basically trying to be the inverse of the NFL and some of the parallels there?
So the Super Bowl halftime show, like everyone's all like, who is this show for? Bad Bunny? Shakira? Why would they do this? The halftime show at the Super Bowl is not for us. It is to get the rest of the world and the non-football world to watch.
Yeah.
FIFA did the exact inverse of that. That halftime show, pre-show, was not for soccer fans. That was for everyone else. It was for the Americans that were like, I ain't turning that on. Well, I guess it's on. I'll watch it. And they watched it. They saw Post Malone, and they're like, oh, okay, I know that guy. Yeah. Hey, okay. Oh, Justin Bieber's on. Their daughters are like, turn on the TV.
Yeah.
I loved at Hattie B's yesterday. There was a table of young girls, and Justin Bieber came on the screen. And it was like,
That was a lot of it. Got loud in there.
It was, and then he started singing, and it got quiet.
It got real quiet.
It got so quiet.
Well, having a halftime show, period, was very much part of the Americanization of this whole thing, right? Like the World Cup has never had a halftime show. A soccer halftime is 15 minutes, no more. And I think they were pushing 25-ish, but to start off with Madonna, who is like still doing it, I guess.
She was doing it on the back of that car. Who was it? Who was driving it?
Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, two Brazilian World Cup legends, driving whatever vehicle Madonna was performing in what was such a clearly pre-taped lead-in to that halftime show. But yeah, just
anything to minimize mistakes. They were like, let's go ahead and knock this out.
Yes, just a robotic, smiling Ronaldo driving.
His facial expression did not change.
Not
he was
all.
just smiling the entire time.
This is not Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the OG Ronaldo. And then it's Madonna. And then it's BTS. And then, there's Ted Lasso. And to your point, look, I know that guy.
And also Tom Cruise got like
that's right.
a filibuster in pregame, right? No, or was that leading into?
No, it was pregame. You know what that reminded me of?
What's that?
Remember the Rock's pregame thing before the Super Bowl in L.A.?
Yes.
That's what
where
that
everyone was like, who the hell was that for?
Yeah, exactly. That's what that was. And we had a hard time. I didn't hear anything Tom Cruise said, to be totally honest. Like, we were chatting. Game hadn't started yet.
The only thing I saw were people going, that's a lot of time for Tom Cruise. And unfortunately, we were talking about movies. I can just feel that this Digger movie is going to suck.
Is it too much promotion for you?
It's just, I just have a feeling. Like, I don't know. I want it to be good, and I'm going to go see it because John Goodman is one of my favorite actors. I'll go see John Goodman eat paint chips. It doesn't matter to me. But I just have a feeling. Like, it feels very Marty Supreme to me. Oh, you should care about this. You should definitely care about this. The only difference is Timmy Chalamet, fine actor, good actor, great. He's not a generational talent like Tom Cruise is. So maybe Tom and the cast can put it over. But yeah, apparently he got like 4 minutes to filibuster on whatever the hell Tom Cruise.
No idea what he said. No clue. Maybe, I mean, out of curiosity at this point, I might go back and watch it. But you and I kind of recapped the halftime show this morning where, okay, Madonna, I guess she's still doing her thing and she plays, I guess she's got a new song. And then BTS comes in and plays their smash hit. And then, there's Ted Lasso. And Justin Bieber just destroys the vibe. And it's not Bieb's fault. And I have respect for Justin Bieber. But what are we doing with that song choice in the middle of this festive,
I think if it wasn't acoustic, it could have been a lot better. Or if it was I wonder if he was what? Madonna gets an entrance like this? And Shakira gets a full field of children from all over the world, and I get Ted Lasso?
And an acoustic guitar.
Right. But no worries. Don't worry, because the Muppets, Electric Mayhem, Dr. Teeth and Janice, Kermit the Frog,
the Muppets
Miss
were
Piggy.
Awesome. The Muppets doing Seven Nation Army. That's what I left out.
Yes.
That's what came after Madonna.
That was after Bieber, right? Going into...
I can't remember.
I was...
But then Shakira rescued us towards the end.
Yeah, she was.
And you were very complimentary of her performance.
Famously. I love Shakira, and I don't think she's overrated at all for the 5 songs she's given the world.
So the World Cup is over, and we did the thing. We gave it a halftime show. Spain are getting rings for the first time in history, the World Cup champion.
And Kroll tells me people are upset about this.
Who cares? Yeah, that's not something to get upset about.
No, are soccer purists upset the same way the baseball people were mad about the pitch clock? Or
upset about the halftime show?
No, upset about the rings.
Oh, maybe, but who cares? What to be upset that they're making the halftime 30 minutes to cram a show in there, that's something to be annoyed about when you've never seen a World Cup final have a halftime show. But Spain getting rings, who cares? But it does beg the legitimate question, which was always going to be asked throughout the course of this thing. What, now that it's over, will the World Cup do for soccer in this country after 5 weeks of people being on board like never before? And it's not like it is a complete novelty, right? Like my entire life, Robert, when the World Cup rolls around, men's or women's, sports bars are packed to the gills for USA games. It's a topic of conversation. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and I remember the 2010 and 2014 World Cup discussions like it was yesterday with my friends and people at school and going to games and stuff. But this took it to a whole new level where you have 55 million people watching the USA take on Belgium, and obviously they flop. But the 1994 World Cup was sort of the launch point for U.S. soccer in the modern age, where it led to the creation of Major League Soccer and the U.S. finally having a league that stuck. But we were starting at ground zero, level zero in 94. But it was this jumping off point that led to the creation of Major League Soccer that did inspire a generation of young people that went on to be U.S. men's national team stars. So now, as we fast forward to 2026, and American soccer is at a certain level, far higher than it was in 94, then what does that next step look like? And the thing I tell people is I do think there will be an itch that wasn't there before to experience this sport that will have people more inclined to go to their local club team, to go to a Nashville SC game, to flip on a Premier League game if you're just plodding around making pancakes on a Saturday morning. But the long-term impact is something that we don't know, and you are the test study for this. So how do you view it for yourself? I'm sure you, like many people, are ready to go back to, okay, that was fun, but all right, and it's time for football, right?
Yes, and it's going to be impacted by football. But my question to you is, other than Nashville SC, if I wasn't in a city where soccer was as prominent and good as it was, I wouldn't know where to start. It would be like putting together a 5,000-piece puzzle and you can't find any of the corners. Do I jump to I don't know. I'm just going to start naming teams. Like, do I go be an Arsenal fan? Do I watch Arsenal games? Do I watch like a different league? Do I don't know. I wouldn't know where to go because there is so much worldly soccer for me to go to. Like, that would probably be the barrier of entry that would stop me from caring because I don't want to go watch the wrong stuff. Like all of a sudden I'm watching Japanese soccer and you're like, no, that's like a very low level. You shouldn't watch that. It's like, I don't know.
That's what, it was great to meet a bunch of people at the bowling event on Thursday, but our guy Marvin, listener of the show, was there. Marvin, the man.
Oh, Marvin was killer.
And Marvin was telling me that he is the same way, that this thing, he is all in now. He's a Nashville SC season ticket holder. Like this World Cup has him all in a way he wasn't before. But at the early onset, he bit off more than he could chew because like you, he dove in. It was like, whoa, just inundated with every league from every country on the globe. Most people, I think, just find a Premier League team that they associate with, whether it's the lovable losers or the champions or found a player in this World Cup. If people fell in love with Erling Haaland, who I know you appreciated over the last few weeks,
I stopped liking him.
You're over Haaland.
Well, I found out Cheyenne thinks he's very attractive.
Oh, okay.
So
really?
Yeah,
okay.
where she kept asking me when he was playing and what's he doing, and I'm like, I don't know. You're the one that follows him on Instagram.
Cheyenne, a fan of the long flowing hair, it seems. She has a type.
She does have.
I mean, not ever cut that hair.
You could see the similarities.
Yes, the athletic profile is quite
in our
similar.
Bodies, you know.
But many people will become Manchester City fans because of Haaland. They'll just follow him, and that's fine. Do it however you want to do it. Many people will gravitate locally. And again, Nashville SC is the best team in Major League Soccer. They've been one of the best teams on the continent in 2026. Not many better places to be if you are one of these people that will be a more casual observer than you ever would have otherwise been.
Is Nottingham Forest good?
Nottingham Forest is a historic club. They're not winning the Premier League.
That's who Robin Hood played for.
They're in the Premier League. Robin Hood. Who is Robin Hood?
Him, Little John, slipping through the forest.
Oh.
The sheriff and
all right, let's take a call.
Wait,
615-737.
Come on, they have to be the Fighting Robin Hoods,
1045. Daniel's next in East Nashville. Hey, Daniel.
What's going on, everyone? Great show. I think you need your own time slot. We can talk. I need to call about that.
Thank you, Daniel.
And so don't tell anybody. I'm a diehard University of Tennessee SEC American football fan, but I think thanks to the Nashville SC and the World Cup, I've become a soccer fan. But please don't tell anybody about that. But I do have a question. Luca, we talked about the injuries. I think there were 4 prominent players of the Nashville SC had injuries the first half of the season. Are they going to be back the second half?
Thanks for the call, Daniel. Sam Surridge already back. He started on Friday against Atlanta. Unfortunately, some other injuries were picked up along the way. Christian Espinoza was held out of Friday's game. But Patrick Yazbek, Eddie Tagseth, Andy Nahar, these guys are still slowly working back. So they are not back to full health by any means, Nashville Soccer Club. And they're diving right back in with the game Friday. And then Wednesday night, they host Montreal and so on. And we'll see if they can get back to closer to what they were health-wise at the start of the season. We're able to pick up 3 points nonetheless on Friday. But that's the hope, is people are like Daniel, and they'll just be more inclined to follow that local team. And you have one here in Nashville that is right there. The stadium, the environment is there waiting for you with open arms. And the important thing that I find myself to sort of wrap up the conversation, Robert, is to just remind folks that we get to do it our way. You do not have to adhere to anything that soccer purists and Euro snobs, of which there are many, will try to get you to adhere to. If somebody ever corrects you when you say a team is winning 1-0 or 2-0, and they say, no, it's 0, say whatever you want to that person. Dismiss that person. You can say nothing. You can say 0. You don't have to say pitch. You can say field. You don't have to say boots. You can call them cleats. It doesn't have to be a kit. It can be a jersey. Every country on the planet does soccer in their own way, with their own terms, in their own language. So you do not have to speak like you're from Birmingham, England, to sound like an educated soccer fan. We get to do it our own way because everybody else in the world does. And that's what I'm fascinated to find out, is how America embraces soccer in its own way moving forward. It's already got a foundation with Major League Soccer, and there are ways to go to get MLS up to the conversation it wants to truly get to. But in terms of how we do things, We're allowed to do it in our way. We don't have to adhere to certain phraseologies that people want to throw in your face. Just kind of a PSA as we move on to this post-2026 World Cup era of American soccer.
And I want to plug this, too, before we get off of it, because I think this is so cool that Nashville SC is doing it. Maybe you haven't been to a game. Maybe you weren't into soccer before. But now, if you'd like to go to a game, your very first game in Geodis, Nashville SC is doing a great thing. First game on us. All you got to do, go to their website, go to their socials, check out their Twitter page, and you can fill it out. Pick a game you'd like to go to, and the first game is on them. They are investing into the fans. They're having people. If you haven't had a reason, an impetus to go yet, here is your reason. It's not going to cost you a dime to get into the game. You would be a fool not to take them up on this. What's their website? Is it just NashvilleSC.com?
NashvilleSC.com.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Go to a game. It is so much fun. And I think if you enjoyed watching the games at home, you are going to have even more fun watching it with fans of the same ilk. It is just such a different vibe to be there on match day. They do such a good job with game and day environment.
Wednesday night, Nashville hosting Montreal. Looking forward to being there. Pregame coverage on the Zone. Oh, I don't want to misspeak. I want to say starts at 6:30. Yeah, 7 p.m. Pregame coverage on the Zone for a 7:30 kickoff.
And Montreal sucks, right? So they should beat the hell out of them.
Montreal is, yeah, they've struggled.
I knew you would say it diplomatically. Yes, they are struggling. I'm like, yeah, they suck.
Nashville will be favored. I'll put it this way. No easy opponents, all these things. But if Nashville plays their game, they should win on Wednesday.
65%
they still have to go out and do it.
Nashville win.
Okay. So there will be the Roberts of the world that maybe bring soccer into their casual observance more. The people that I am more focused on, though, are the 10, 12, 13-year-olds, right? The little kids that took this in this summer and that start to pick up a ball and go about things and suddenly have that dream in mind along with dreams of playing other sports. So in my mind, we don't get the answer of what the impact of the 2026 World Cup in the U.S. was with ratings for the next Premier League season. We get the answer 10, 20 years from now with where the U.S. is from a talent development standpoint. And I can't wait to find out what that answer is going to be. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. SEC Media Days underway. Multiple coaches are speaking. Josh Heupel is coming up later today, but we'll discuss one big thing for Oklahoma, Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee coming up next. I do feel like I'm on an island more and more every year, getting excited for SEC Media Days. And I feel like I'm still just clinging on to something because there's media that at this point don't even bother with SEC Media Days. But maybe it's because I just don't want to let go of that like Christmas morning feeling of it's late July and we're starting to talk about SEC football. So I refuse to let it go. And I will continue to get up for it just because it gives us an opportunity for that to dominate the topic of conversation.
Do the Sankey leg. Do the Sankey leg.
And to play that clip. And we will spam that clip when SEC Media Days is here in Nashville next summer. Should we play that for Greg Sankey if he sits down with us?
Ooh.
If he just happens to stumble by our setup.
Do the Sankey leg. Do the Sankey leg. I wonder if he would be able to crank it. Like really just like do the actual stanky leg. I would be worried if you did it. I think you would sustain an injury doing the stanky leg.
I'd probably damage my meniscus or something.
Was there a dance that was like super polarizing to you as a kid? Like when I was in school, it was the Roy. You remember the Roy where you just flex and move your arm back and forth?
Oh, yeah.
Roy. We don't dance no more. All we do is Roy.
I mean, it was the John Wall.
Jerking was a big deal.
Do the jerk.
Yeah.
There obviously the Dougie.
I feel like the guy that started that was Soulja Boy with Crank.
You think just starting these like viral dances?
Maybe. This song wasn't even. I don't even know if there was a dance for this, but like, don't drop that dun dun.
Do you remember the WAP?
Of course,
that was that is in middle of my high school. The WAP was everybody was doing the WAP.
I mean, every wedding, every white wedding, the WAP plays, and someone's mom that you didn't think was going to get out there is going to get out there and WAP it.
One big thing for Oklahoma, Missouri, Kentucky, and Tennessee. We'll roll through these because all four of these coaches are speaking today in Tampa, and some already have spoken. Brent Venables led off the proceedings at the podium at 9 a.m. Now, to be clear, the podium portion of a head coach's, car wash responsibilities at Media Days is by far the least interesting portion. It's the part that the most people see. It's the one that's on national television. But it's easily the part where the least amount of interesting things is said. And then they start to sit down with local and national shows and a few things leak out. But Brent Venables, one big thing for Oklahoma, can you stop the pendulum swing in 2026? Because that's what it's been in Venables' Oklahoma tenure so far. 2022, year one, he comes in 6-7. They lose the Cheez-It Bowl. It's year one. 2023, we see a leap with Dylan Gabriel playing quarterback. 10-win season. Oklahoma ends up in the top 15. They lose in the Alamo Bowl, but a 10-3 season, a year two leap under Venables. 2024, 6-7. They fall right back off. 2025, here comes John Mateer, 10-3, and a loss in the first round of the college football playoff. They get to that point. They give up that big lead against Alabama, but it's an undeniable step. So this is probably the Oklahoma team under Brent Venables most equipped to avoid that pendulum swing with John Mateer running it back for another year. You sent in this quote from John Mateer.
Dude.
There are times where you realize, these guys are just us if we had athletic talent.
Yeah, I don't know. They might be a little dumber than us. I would never. Someone asked me about reading defenses. I would fake it and try to give a fake smart answer before I would say something like this. This is almost as bad as the what's the Colorado quarterback, Julian Lewis?
Julian Lewis saying that they didn't even bother to watch tape last year.
We were just free balling it. I would never say something like this. They would be like, Robert Walsh of Tennessee just said a bunch of nothing. He was just filibustering with random words. You read the quote, because if I read it, I'm going to use a dumb voice.
Chris Marler is the one who posted this. 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge, if I'm not mistaken. But Chris Marler, formerly of Saturday Down South, I believe. John Mateer, Oklahoma quarterback, was asked about reading defenses in the SEC. And I quote, "There's not really any time to think. If someone is open, you just throw it to them." Marler says potential quote of the week on day one. And it's not a great look for a guy that threw 3 picks in the loss to Texas, that had a really bad turnover in the comeback win by Alabama in the playoff.
Yeah, maybe do more of that. Throw to the open guy.
That is a kind of a crazy. No, we don't think because there's not really any time to.
The number one response is the Lil Yachty and Drake gif
just
of like
pointing at the computer. Oh,
why did I not think of that?
Throw it to the open guy.
God, if it was me, I would simply just throw a touchdown every time.
Yeah, that's not a great look. And the type of thing that can just put a seed into the mind of an NFL evaluator, can it not? Like, hey, that doesn't really work
How
here.
would you recommend diversification?
I wouldn't recommend nothing from you, Goldman
Are
Sachs.
you doing one of those, is that one of those, like, training programs that we have to do, like, for HR? Is that what we just heard a piece of?
I'm multitasking. Leave me alone.
Do we have another one of those coming up?
No, I think it's just me.
Okay.
I failed a fishing exam.
I don't know.
Robert, there has been a what's it called when somebody says they didn't like something you did? There's been a complaint made against you. Please read the report here. Click. We gotcha. They could not have sent that to a better guy to be worried about something he said being found in a complaint.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, bud.
It's okay.
Stoney on the FNM Bank chat says John Mateer has solved quarterbacking. Just throw to the open guy.
Yeah, just
no need to think. There's too much thinking happening with our quarterbacks.
Just throw, react, run. Yeah, like, why not this? Why not when the ball is snapped to you? If there's not enough time, set it down on the ground. Take the next play to figure it out.
So that's Oklahoma. Stop the pendulum swing in 2026. Missouri with Eli Drinkwitz, who at this point, I remember a couple of years ago we did this segment, and the one big thing I had for Missouri was we need more bite and less bark because Eli Drinkwitz sort of took on this mantle of I'm going to be the coach. It felt so intentional from Drinkwitz. I'm going to be the coach that says funny, interesting things at SEC Media Days. He got up there, I think it was the one in Nashville, and right out of the gate, guys, I know what you're going to ask me about. I'm not going to answer any questions about the Epstein files. Like that's how Drinkwitz opened his podium appearance at Media Days a couple of years ago. The problem is they didn't have any results to back it up at that point. It had been a whole bunch of 5-win, 6-win, 6-win. But then that year, 2023, there's Missouri, 11-2, miss out on the playoff in the Cotton Bowl. 2024, 10-3, miss out on the playoff, Music City Bowl. 2025, 8-5, lose in the Gator Bowl. But for Missouri, after hearing this quote from Eli Drinkwitz, do we have this drink? We talked about coaches just complaining. Here's Eli Drinkwitz complaining as an SEC head football coach about things that SEC teams are not getting enough credit for.
We're all saying it. We're all saying it. I think we're all saying it when we look at our schedules. It's going to be a real challenge. I think Coach Kiffin has been somebody who's been, whether publicly or privately, been able to he's been the one on the forefront even last year in these meetings saying, guys, I don't think that this is the right play for us. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And we got to meet those challenges head on now. I think the one thing that we don't get enough credit for in the SEC is the challenge of the stadiums that we play in the environments that we play in. I think, obviously FIFA World Cup has done a tremendous job of putting our stadiums on display. And the stadiums they're playing in, they're great stadiums, but they're not comparable to the SEC stadiums that you're talking about. I mean, I think yesterday FIFA's World Championship was in front of 80,000. Well, that's 25,000 short of some of these other stadiums that we play in Death Valley and Athens and in Ben Griffin Hill, I think it's 88,000. But, I mean, Knoxville, that's a whole different deal. And there's nothing you can do to remove 20,000 people from a game. That's a tremendous challenge for anybody to walk into. And, hey, we got to play Starkville at night this year with those cowbells. I think that's about 80,000 strong there. That's going to be a real challenge for everybody.
So that's Eli Drinkwitz on something that SEC teams aren't getting enough credit for. And he continued, and he said, we won't play the audio here, but he was asked about the Big Ten now with 3 straight national championships and said that a reason for the Big Ten's 3 straight national titles is that, well, when you don't play these big non-conference games, and it's just stop, man. And I know this is, again, the mantle he has taken upon himself when SEC Media Days roll around every single year. But it's hard when you are there criticizing Big Ten teams for their non-conference schedule, and your non-conference schedule consists of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Kansas, which is a rivalry. I'm not going to just use Kansas as a throwaway, but Troy, last year, Central Arkansas, and on and on. When Kansas is your marquee non-conference matchup, that's hard for me to come back to you saying the Big Ten doesn't play big non-conference games when Ohio State beat Texas last year, when Michigan beat Oklahoma last year. So I have a hard time with these things. But, my mistake, Oklahoma won that game last year. But the point is, they played each other, right? They faced off in what was not a neutral site. It was Michigan going to Norman. And I get Indiana doesn't play anybody outside of the conference, and Kurt Cignetti is like unapologetic about it. Why would we? And I get that stance as well. But I just don't want SEC media days to turn into SEC head coaches just complaining when the SEC hasn't won a national championship in over 3 years. And
Yes.
at the moment, Eli Drinkwitz is leading that charge.
Less complaining and more fighting.
Yeah. Now, I will say my one big thing for Missouri this year is good luck. With Austin Simmons and Ole Miss cast off as your quarterback, doubt around Ahmad Hardy. Again, Drink said the running back will play this year who suffered the gunshot wound in the summer. Scary situation. Glad first and foremost that Hardy is okay, and it's even a conversation whether or not he plays. But we don't know to what extent or when he'll come back. In Missouri in 2026, in league play, does have to go to Starkville. Like, there is merit there. We just don't want to hear you complaining about it. But they do have to go to Starkville at night. They do have to host Florida. They host Texas A&M. They go to Ole Miss. They host Texas. They go to Georgia. They host Oklahoma. Good luck, Eli Drinkwitz, is my one big thing.
Was Austin Simmons, did he lose the job? Or did he get hurt?
He got hurt. He was the starter for Ole Miss, gets hurt. Trinidad Chambliss comes in. Simmons gets healthy. But again, the adage of you don't lose your job due to injury, yes, you do. And it happens all the time.
Ask Alex Smith. He didn't get to start a daggum Super Bowl run.
Yeah, ask Drew Bledsoe if you can lose your job due to injury. That is one of those refrains that I never understand. And I feel like it's something you hear quite often, Robert. Right? Isn't that like sort of no, it's like it's not right to lose your job due to injury.
I wish Ramon was here because I remember Ramon had a great opinion on this. He's like, no, you definitely can, because there's also an old adage about you can't make the club in the tub.
Right.
Like, you can definitely. I mean,
of course you can.
If it's a veteran, like if there is a team that is built around this guy's presence, then sure, he's probably going to have a role on that team.
Yeah.
But you're not going to, like, if he was that good, it would have been apparent. Like, you could definitely lose your job for that.
Kentucky head coach Will Stein, first year. He takes over, was the play caller for Oregon last year. The one big thing for Kentucky, modernize the offense. Kentucky fans have been begging for that for years now, especially after things got stale under Mark Stoops. When the defensive standard drops off for a defensive-minded head coach, that patience wears a lot thinner a lot quicker. And here's Will Stein, who's an up-and-coming offensive mind, and he's got a local guy running things at quarterback in Kenny Minchie, who transferred to Kentucky after he was unable to win the Notre Dame starting quarterback job. Committed to Pitt for a long time, flipped to Notre Dame out of Pope Prep, Pope John Paul II here in Nashville, and heads to Kentucky, where he will partner up with Will Stein, a former Louisville Cardinal, with the goal of modernizing Kentucky's offense in 2026. The one big thing for Josh Heupel in Tennessee, coming up next.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
Talking season well underway down in Tampa. By the way, 3HL will be live at 3 o'clock at SEC Media Days. It is Tennessee Day. Right out of the gate, Josh Heupel will step up to the podium coming up at 1:55 local. So if it's on time, he will be on right in the middle of Cover 2 with Blaine and Zach, which is coming up next. And then 3HL takes you home from 3 to 6, sponsored by Wholesale Supply. Built to supply, trusted to deliver. And by eSpaces as well. 1045thezone.com is where you can go for more info on 3HL's escapades this week.
Is there something in particular that you would like to hear from Josh Heupel, either at the podium or when he sits down with 3HL today?
I will be obviously intrigued at how he chooses to go about answering the Chaz Coleman questions. And specifically, the thing that you had been pointing out the entire time, how was this something that, okay, here's how I would frame it. If you could go back to the recruitment of Chaz Coleman, is there anything that would have been done differently? Is there anything that was overlooked that you look back now and wish you hadn't made that leap? And it's not as though it's a question he would answer in a way that would be satisfactory for us, because that's just not what Heupel does. But I'll be intrigued to how the players respond, because last year it was all about Nico. And Heupel just had his refrain, nobody's bigger than the power T. We're focused on the guys that are there. But Miles Kitselman gave some great insight into the Nico Iamaleava stuff. And that, yeah, they were pissed, right? Like, showed some actual emotion about the Nico stuff. So Arion Carter, Deshaun Bishop, and Jeremiah Thielander are the player reps at Tennessee. So I'm probably more interested, Robert, in what they're going to say about the Chaz Coleman stuff than what Heupel's going to say. There's going to be an easy sort of out for them. And I don't know that it's an out. It's just the truth, is that they barely know the guy. He was a part of the team on the practice field for maybe 2 weeks of spring ball. So to them, it's really like nothing's changed. And I imagine that's kind of how they'll go about, look, we're working with the guys we've been working with.
So the answer that I would want to get, and I'm glad you brought up the player portion of this, because Heupel doesn't really give you like the key to the lock, right, to unlock the answers of what you're looking for. But I would imagine that Bishop has taken snaps with both potential starting quarterbacks for the Vols this season. So what's the difference? What do you like? Who do you think has the leg up? And I doubt that he would give the lock to the key, to borrow the previously used phrase, but I think he could tell you a little bit about the kind of player that they are, because both are really, I mean, aside from a couple snaps, what's the other cat, tall dude, local guy?
McIntyre, George McIntyre.
McIntyre didn't really get a ton of snaps. Like, if it was either...
I think McIntyre got like 9 snaps in last season.
And that was a big thing with a turd slinger. It's like, why didn't you get him some snaps when instead you gave those to Merklinger?
Yeah, it's a legit question. Why in the world was Jake Merklinger? Like, he was the 2, we get it, but it was sort of the worst kept secret that he wasn't going to be around the next year. Why in the world was Merklinger getting into games ahead of George McIntyre? It's a very fair question and criticism of Heupel's staff.
So both of those guys are relative sight unseen players. So getting that kind of perspective from Bishop would be interested in me. Like, what kind of players are both of these guys? What do you think their strengths are? Where can they grow more? That's what I would be looking forward to. And Tennessee always does a good job. I think people downplay players because there are some that make statements like what John Mateer did. But if you're really listening, I think it can be super insightful. Like, that's why I like when there's guys that are off the beaten path, like Kitzelman last year. Like, no one's really clamoring to hear what Miles Kitzelman has to say about, like, the Vols or Tennessee as a whole. But as you noted, he gave great notes.
Great insight, as a leader of that team.
So I'm looking forward to that. Him, T-Lander, Arion Carter,
Yep.
all 3 of those guys. Interested to see what they have to say. Hopefully 3HL can get a little bit of time with all of those guys.
And although Carter and T-Lander likely won't say anything about Chaz Coleman, because, again, it's valid. They hardly know Chaz Coleman. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if neither of those guys ever had, like, a legitimate, deep conversation with Chaz Coleman. They barely had time to, because he was just gone for pretty much all of spring ball and throughout the summer program before being medically disqualified. But what they can answer questions about is different ways that Tennessee can manufacture a pass rush, maybe with a guy like Arion Carter as a bit of a wild card, because this is the point where Jim Knowles, you got to make your money. The highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, a huge coup for Heupel to bring him in, replacing Tim Banks after the steep drop-off that defense saw last year. All right, Jim, what are you going to have up your sleeve here? And is a guy like Arion Carter with his athletic profile, who projects as an off-ball linebacker in the NFL, but is that somebody that you can find matchups for on the outside with an extremely thin and unproven outside linebacker group, an edge group? I'm very curious as to how Tennessee and Jim Knowles tinker with things to find ways to get home after losing their highest ceiling pass rusher in the offseason. But the one big thing for Tennessee, as Heupel gets ready to speak at media days, for 2026, Bert, is figure out your trajectory. Like, if you asked anybody, Tennessee fan or not, what is Tennessee football under Josh Heupel, I think you'll get all sorts of answers, all sorts of them. I mean, people will say, yeah, good but not great. People will say rescued from the depths of the 15 years of dysfunction. People will say never going to get to that next level. People will say sleeping giant. I think there are all sorts of answers you would get. And at this point, when you're talking about 5 years into a coaching tenure, you really want to know what your trajectory looks like. And Tennessee, we've seen stranger things, but Tennessee, I don't expect to contend for a championship in 2026. But it's okay if you go into the back end of 2026 feeling like you have a trajectory with your quarterback situation and a talent profile that's been raised on the roster. And I understand people will hear that and, it's always next year, always next year. Like, that's fine. But figure out what your trajectory is in 2026 so we don't have yet another year of going in having no clue. Because, Robert, I have no clue what this team's going to be this year. I heard Will say this morning, like, the variance with Tennessee is probably up there with the most variance in terms of what could happen all the way on this swing of the pendulum and all the way on the other side. For Tennessee, probably more so than any other SEC team, because the talent profile of the roster is probably in as good a place as it's been in the Heupel era. But the 2 biggest questions on the roster are arguably the 2 most important positions on the field, and who's going to play quarterback, and they're going to be unproven either way, and who in the world is going to sack the quarterback.
And looking at Heupel as a whole, I feel like the NIL era threw a wrench in the expectations surrounding coaches, because before it was like, okay, your 4th year, that's all of his guys. That's everyone that he's recruited. He's built this team up, and now he has seniors that have sat, and NIL has kind of knocked that wonky, where it doesn't look like, okay, their 4th year, that should be the pinnacle, and then we can start building again, and hopefully we can grow. But it's been questions about the quarterback position the last 2 years. for Tennessee. And I don't think that that's going to change. I think there are going to be ebbs and flows. And unless you are the premier power, the peak power in college football, like an Oregon, Ohio State, a Georgia, every year it's going to be a swing of the pendulum.
Yeah.
Just because of how NIL affects rosters and money, and sometimes you tie your horse to somebody and it's a lame horse.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to hope that you can figure it out next year. I mean, sometimes I just feel like that's the name of the game now.
Who are you tying your horse to at quarterback by the end of 2026? Because you have the opportunity here. If either of these players can establish themselves, you have an opportunity to have a guy and then have that guy to build on the following year. And look, programs in this modern era can find success by pilfering the best fit for them at quarterback in the portal. Indiana is doing it. Lane Kiffin will do it wherever he goes. But can this team figure out a way to have a quarterback to build on going into 2027 and not have to spend $5 million on a quarterback because neither of these guys worked out in 2026, which is demanding instant gratification from two players, one of the two players that has never started a game in their lives in the college game. But that's kind of where Tennessee finds itself going into 2026.
This is probably a conversation for tomorrow because we're running out of time. But can Josh Heupel afford for whoever his quarterback is this year to have a Cam Ward-esque rookie year? And this is not a Cam Ward conversation, but I think we can all agree that Cam Ward still has a number of questions to answer before we all believe that he is the guy bona fide.
Right.
Does Josh Heupel, is he afforded the luxury of having that same situation with whoever the quarterback is this year? If you're going in next year, you pick your guy and he's okay, he's fine, he's average. Can they afford to go into next season hoping that his development catches up?
Yeah, hoping he takes this. It's a great question, and we could talk about it tomorrow. Josh Heupel will be asked about all of those things today. Faison Brandon, the leader in the clubhouse, he'll be asked about that. David Gabriel George got an expert prediction today from Pete Nakos of On3 Sports that he will pick Tennessee Wednesday when he announces. All sorts of things to discuss down in Tampa. 3HL will be doing it at 3. Cover 2, Blaine and Zach are coming up next. We will see you guys tomorrow.